However, the semi-automated production line and those roughly made puppets, in Zhu Zhangqi and other disciples' opinion, require energy to operate. They are reluctant to use spirit stones because they are too expensive. After all, with that money, it's better to hire disciples from within the hall using spirit stones. These disciples don't demand much spirit stones. They are all strong and robust, capable of working all night long, and are very efficient, not much slower than industrial production. So, to save money and spirit stones, Zhu Zhangqi and the others began to ponder the energy source that Su Jie provided. Using the technological knowledge Su Jie shared, they replicated a power station to supply electricity for the industrial production line. These puppet hall disciples are skilled in manufacturing humanoid puppets. In the modern society of Blue Star, they would all be technology experts. Building a power station and setting up a production line is no challenge, especially with the technical knowledge Su Jie provided. If they couldn't manage this, they wouldn't be able to produce humanoid combat puppets capable of flying and tunneling. By the time Su Jie discovered this, several production lines had already been put into operation by the puppet hall. Su Jie also found that Zhu Zhangqi and others had modified some batteries. Using spiritual power methods, they made slight modifications to the batteries and injected spiritual liquid, significantly increasing the battery density. These batteries were used by Zhu Zhangqi and the others as backup energy, and they were very convenient to use. Thus, naturally, the results developed by the puppet hall were brought back to Blue Star by Su Jie. On the stage at the press conference, after the male host introduced the ultra-high energy biological battery, he continued, "While our press conference is ongoing, we have already delivered a free sample of this ultra-high energy biological battery to major global technology laboratories and technology giants. If anyone doubts the data on the ultra-high energy biological battery, it's impossible for the whole world to collude and lie, right? Whether it's true or false can be tested." Upon hearing this confident statement, the scene went silent for a moment. As the male host said, Jekka Group had openly sent the ultra-high energy biological battery samples to global major test machines for testing, clearly confident in their product. If it were fake, it would be immediately exposed upon testing. Only with genuine and reliable products would Jekka Group dare to be so conceited and proactively offer the ultra-high energy biological battery to global laboratories for testing. Reflecting on the many miracles Jekka Group had created, most of the people present, including the live stream audience, had already believed that this product could indeed achieve the described effects. Realizing this, the scene became lively, as everyone recognized that an energy revolution might be emerging from Jekka Group's ultra-high energy biological battery. Especially those tech giants on site were all eyes aglow. Their senses were the sharpest. An energy revolution would inevitably lead to a comprehensive product overhaul. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? The host gave a detailed introduction to the biological battery and then opened the floor to questions. I would like to ask whether this biological energy battery is a laboratory product or if it can be produced on a large industrial scale. Apple Company's CEO, Kyuk, was the first to ask a question. He had come both skeptical and hopeful, and had just received a report from a subordinate via phone that their headquarters had indeed received a package containing a new type of battery, clearly a sample from Jekka Group. Kyuk wasn't very suspicious about the energy density of the ultra-high energy biological battery. He only doubted whether Jekka Group had the capacity for mass production. If it was just a laboratory product and couldn't be mass-produced industrially, it would be a complete joke. The male host smiled and said, "There's no need to worry about that. Our biological battery has already completed industrial preparation, and we have built production bases in many regions across Chan country. Enough to meet global production demands." Kyuk was shocked. Clearly, Jekka Group's research on biological batteries was far advanced. They even had production bases built. They must be very confident in their product. No, if the biological battery truly performs as advertised, then globally, no battery company would be able to compete with Jekka Group. Including batteries from their Apple company, like those used in phones, if they switched to biological batteries, playing high-power consumption games all day would no longer be a dream. May I ask what the price of this biological battery is? Soon, another person stood up to ask a question, this time from Hua Country's Bia D Company's CEO. His company was famous for producing new energy electric vehicles and currently holds the title of the world's top-selling new energy vehicle company. As everyone knows, the battery is crucial for new energy electric vehicles. If these battery specifications hold, but the price is too high, it could only become a niche product that the general public cannot afford. The price of this battery, we've classified biological batteries into 5 grades based on different energy densities, ranging from 500 Wh/kg to 1200 Wh/kg. We will announce specific prices when we officially launch the biological battery in 3 days. We can guarantee that while prices will be higher, they will be within an acceptable range for people. The male host did not give a direct answer but provided reassurance. The CEO of B&D Company sat down satisfied. As long as the price wasn't too outrageous, their new energy vehicles could definitely experience a boom. Currently, the greatest limit to new energy vehicles lies in battery technology. If biological batteries are mounted on new energy vehicles, they could achieve longer range and faster charging with a smaller battery size and weight. Conversely, companies related to batteries present at the scene and traditional automobile manufacturers all looked extremely ugly. Battery companies fear that biological batteries will engage in a price war, potentially wiping them out, while traditional automobile manufacturers realized that if new energy vehicles switched to biological batteries and could travel 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers on a single charge, the biggest bottleneck of new energy vehicles would disappear, causing the sales of traditional oil cars to plummet. Many bosses of traditional automobile companies are now contemplating immediately testing this biological battery product upon returning. If everything is as JECA Group claims, they would have to reduce oil car production lines and actively shift towards new energy vehicles. Does anyone else have questions? After answering several more questions, a reporter from the beautiful country stood up. I would like to ask if JECA Group plans to open source the technology of this biological battery? This technology, which promises a global energy revolution, could have a profoundly positive influence worldwide. If this biological battery technology could be open-sourced, allowing global scientists and companies to participate, biological battery technology could advance rapidly, a great blessing for all mankind. Hearing such a shameless remark, visible disdain appeared on the male host's face. But before he could speak, he saw Su Jie in the front row waving him off. Su Jie stood up from his chair, snorted at the beautiful country reporter, and said, "You want open-source technology? Your beautiful country is still imposing bans and sanctions on JECA Group, right? How dare you even ask this question? I'll tell you here, the biological battery will not open-source any technology. Moreover, biological batteries are prohibited from flowing into Europe and America, including the beautiful country. It's our turn to sanction you, fools." Su Jie unabashedly expressed his disdain and mockery, leaving the beautiful country reporter furious and red-faced, while the representatives and bosses from Europe and America at the scene also turned dark. The beautiful country reporter, livid, shouted, "What JECA Group is doing is blatant monopolization without justice or generosity. It's a monopoly based on technology. What can you do about it?" Su Jie shrugged, wearing a smug expression, as if daring the beautiful country to bite him. Amidst the laughter at the scene, the press conference quickly came to an end. Yet the real storm was just beginning. After all, this was an innovation in the energy sector. Beautiful country. The Ford Motor Company, headquartered in Dearborn City, Michigan, is bustling with activity as a large group of engineers are brought in to conduct various tests on a biological battery. After a series of tests, in the final step, the battery is violently cut and thrown into the fire pit to burn. Yet there is no sign of self-ignition from the biological battery, making the on-site engineers gasp in surprise. Meanwhile, in the conference room at the headquarters, the Ford Motor Company President Mura is pacing back and forth anxiously, awaiting the final results of the tests, while numerous Ford executives are already seated. Moments later, Ford's chief engineer McKinley hurriedly enters the office, saying excitedly, "Oh my God, President Mura, you won't believe it. This biological battery is perfect, truly perfect." McKinley's face is flushed with excitement. As a researcher, the emergence of this biological battery attracts him beyond imagination. If Mura weren't here, he would rush back to continue testing it. In McKinley's view, the sudden appearance of this biological battery could render most other batteries obsolete and dump them into the dustbin of history. Most batteries not only have much lower energy density than biological batteries, but are also prone to thermal runaway, causing them to self-ignite. However, this biological battery achieves a perfect fusion in aspects like resources, energy, safety, extreme environments, materials, transmission, and systems. Quickly, tell the test results. Mura has no interest in McKinley's chatter. He immediately wants detailed data on this biological battery. Seeing the impatience on Mura's face, McKinley slightly restrains his smile, knowing he isn't a fool despite his high position, and hands over a detailed test data sheet on the biological battery, explaining, "Through our tests, this biological battery has an energy density of up to 1200 Wh/kg. A 3-minute charge can satisfy driving a car for 3,000 kilometers, and its safety is perfect. No matter intense expansion, cutting, or high temperatures, none can trigger the battery's self-ignition. It's simply God's masterpiece. Too perfect, truly perfect." Hearing this data, Mura, who still held out a sliver of hope that this biological battery contains large amounts of water, breathes heavily and his entire expression falls apart. "Are you sure it's really that strong?" Mura grits his teeth, his voice slightly trembling. "Absolutely no mistake. We conducted the most comprehensive tests. There's no way a single error could slip through." McKinley, hearing Mura questioning his professionalism, pats his chest with confidence. "Is there any possibility of successfully imitating it?" Mura asked. "Not a chance. Many materials cannot be made. There's completely no idea where to start with imitation." McKinley shakes his head repeatedly, expressing his helplessness. Mura isn't surprised, expecting such a result. Products from JECA Group have been emerging for years, yet none have been imitated successfully. Thinking about this, Mura's gaze turns to the operations director on the other side. "How is the situation with the company's oil cars and new energy vehicles now?" The operations director quickly responds, "President, our production line is still oriented on oil cars. The electric vehicle production line was completely shut down 2 years ago. Ford was not without diversity in automotive business development. They once manufactured new energy vehicles. However, beautiful countries seem to have struggled to adapt to new energy electric vehicles. Apart from Tesla leading the industry, traditional old car companies that transformed to produce electric vehicles mainly found themselves at a loss. Like Ford, the past electrification vehicle business was a loss-making bottomless pit, incapacitated by the new energy vehicle enterprises from Hua Country, bleeding sales without receiving returns in numbers, losing to Hua Country new energy vehicle companies in the largest market. While the market share in beautiful country was limited, counting research funds, operations, labor, and other costs, selling each new energy vehicle incurred a loss of over $100,000. Dragged down by the new energy vehicle business, the profits created by their oil cars couldn't cover the massive losses brought by the new energy vehicles, deeply mired in trouble. Thus, even knowing that new energy vehicles are the future trend, Ford Motor Company still cut off the new energy vehicle business segment, ditching this debt-ridden burden. But who would have known, just 2 years after shedding it, JECA Group's biological battery emerged suddenly. Mura's expression at this moment is as terrible as it can get. Everyone knows the greatest limitation troubled in new energy vehicles is the battery. Yet now the barrier is broken by JECA Group, ushering in a golden age for new energy vehicles. But ironically, it's been 2 years they've been without a new energy vehicle business. The frustration in Mura's heart is imaginable. Fake, at this exact moment, JECA Group, this bitch, why couldn't they come up with the biological battery earlier? Mura couldn't help cursing, while the company executives beside him lower their heads, not daring to speak. Only McKinley, bold as he was, dared ask, "President, shouldn't we produce new energy vehicles?" "Nonsense. How could we not produce them? This is an innovation in the energy field. Future oil car sales will surely plummet. New energy vehicles are a brand new blue ocean. If we don't earn from it, should we just watch our competitors, General, Stellantis, and those Tesla bastards make the profits?" Mura cursed but still wanted to make money, and said to the marketing department, Get in touch with the JECA Group right away. Place orders for biological batteries with them. This thing is sure to be a hot seller. And if we go too late, we'll have to wait in line for production. The head of the marketing department coughed softly and said, President Xu has declared sanctions against us. The biological batteries can't enter the beautiful country, and if the beautiful country government finds out we're cooperating with the JECA Group. Idiot, we are a multinational company, and the JECA Group only restricts imports to the beautiful country. It's not like we only have factories in the beautiful country. Don't we have factories in Hua country and Southeast Asia as well? Purchase under their names. As for the beautiful countryside, our company's PR team will handle it. You go and call JECA Company now. Secure the order as soon as possible. Morris said assertively, they're not a small company. Ford Motor Company was established as early as 1903. A world-renowned automobile brand and one of the largest automobile manufacturers, with annual revenues exceeding $200 billion. It ranks 35th on the Fortune Global 500 list. Their influence is global, especially deep-rooted in their base, the beautiful country. Their network is deeper than many rising internet tycoons, and this is the confidence Mora has to say this. After all, the beautiful country serves capital, and no one can hinder their capital from making money, not even obstacles from the beautiful country government. The head of the marketing department scurried out of the conference room to contact the JECA Group, while everyone in the conference room was waiting for him. A while later, he returned and reported the results of the communication. President, the JECA Group agreed to supply us with biological batteries. The moment the head of the marketing department said this, all the executives present immediately broke into smiles. Mura couldn't help but chuckle softly and said with satisfaction, the JECA Group won't leave money unearned, and we don't have any competition with them. On the contrary, for the JECA Group to rapidly expand biological batteries and create market dominance, they need the help of traditional automobile companies like us. It's mutually beneficial. The emergence of biological batteries is destined to be an unstoppable force in this energy revolution, just like electricity replacing steam engines. With the inclusion of traditional veteran automotive companies, this process can be greatly accelerated. Mura could even guess JECA Group's ambition. As is well known, oil dollars are one of the hegemony pillars of the beautiful country, and traditional oil vehicles are the world's largest oil consumption market. But what if numerous traditional old-brand oil vehicle companies join the race for new energy vehicles and engage in the electric vehicle industry? The value of oil is sure to decline, which will deeply shake the beautiful country's oil dollar hegemony, and greatly destabilize the power and strength of the beautiful country as the blue star dominator. Even though Mura saw through this, he had no intention of opposing the trend. He just wanted to make money and grow Ford Motor Company stronger and larger. As for whether his country would suffer any losses as a result, it's a joke. They are capitalists, and in Europe and America, a capitalist who doesn't sell their own country isn't even qualified to be called a proper capitalist. But, seeing Mora's happy face, the head of the marketing department hesitated to speak. What, just say it. Is the JECA Group marking up the price on our biological battery purchases? Mora frowned, took a sip of coffee, and considering JECA Group's past conduct, this was very likely. The head of the marketing department first nodded, then shook his head, and said with a bitter smile, President, the JECA Group proposed that we can purchase their biological batteries, but apart from the normal procurement expenses, for every electric vehicle installed with their biological battery sold, we need to pay them a 6% battery tax based on the vehicle's overall price. Poof! Mora spat out a mouthful of coffee, spraying it all over the head of the marketing department's face, staring wide-eyed in shock. Fake! What crap are you saying? Charging us a 6% battery tax? The JECA Group actually dares to play Qualcomm's game? The scene was filled with angry commotion. Everyone couldn't help but start cursing upon hearing this. The JECA Group has gone mad with greed, daring to charge this kind of tax. Bullshit. The JECA Group is clearly extorting us, and it's blatant. Do they really think our Ford Motor Company is so easy to bully? Only a fool would agree to such demands. They're just trying to make us work for them for free. These executives were furious. In the mobile phone industry, there's Qualcomm charging whole device fees, and now the JECA Group wants to pull the same trick on automobiles. Who do they think they are, underestimating Ford Motor Company, with its long history and esteemed reputation? When has it ever suffered such humiliation, being so extorted? The head of the marketing department didn't bother to wipe the water off his face. Laughing wryly, "That's what the JECA Group said. They charge whole vehicle taxes for other companies too, and the rate for Europe and America automobile companies is the highest." From their tone on the phone, they're very smug about it, leaving no room for negotiation. Mura, after his initial anger, was calm now. Seeing countless executives extremely indignant, he said bitterly, "This greedy vampire, one day he's going to be killed by his own appetite. You go and reply to the JECA Group, we agree to their terms. Let them arrange biological battery production as soon as possible. We want to be the first to get these batteries and taste the first bite of the golden era of new energy vehicles." The high officials present were a bit stunned. They thought Mura would sternly refuse the JECA Group's extortion, but Mura's quick capitulation was unexpected. What? The JECA Group charges us a battery tax, we'll just mark up the price of our cars, and ultimately it's the consumers who foot the bill. With the superior performance of the biological battery, there's no worry that consumers won't pay up. Mura said confidently, waving his hand. Now hurry up. Restart the previously halted new energy vehicle production lines. I don't care what method you use. Immediately design a new model of electric vehicles. The company's future business focus shifts to electric vehicles. Understand? Yes. A synchronized response echoed in the scene. The same scene was occurring in major automotive companies worldwide, including mobile phone and other electronic product industries related to batteries, all starting to adjust their business activities and develop new products compatible with biological technology, preparing to taste the first bite of the energy revolution's delicious cake. As more and more test data of biological batteries were published by the global technology laboratory and technology giants, proving the genuineness and effectiveness of the JECA Group's biological battery, the reflection in the outside world, besides the overwhelming news, was the sudden crash of the stock market in the beautiful country. The stock prices of major oil companies, automobile companies, and mobile phone companies plummeted, dragging other sectors down with them, leading to 3 consecutive market halts in one day, leaving the market in mourning. Futures related to crude oil were utterly unfortunate, experiencing a dramatic plunge like a waterfall, unrecognizable by even their own mothers. The stock prices of major oil companies being halved would be fortunate. After the confirmation of the biological battery, several medium and small oil companies have declared bankruptcy because the current drop in oil prices is now lower than their extraction costs. In the Middle East, major oil-producing nations are urgently convening joint meetings to discuss the emergence of the biological battery. In the European Union, major automotive companies like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and other veteran car companies are also making announcements to readjust their product planning and market strategies, making a massive move into the electric vehicle market and producing electric vehicles equipped with the biological battery. The world is in a turmoil and confusion due to the emergence of the biological battery, and the beautiful country has convened Congress 3 times within a week, focusing on the biological battery and the JECA Group, which produces them. No one understands more than the beautiful country how severely the biological battery strikes their oil dollar hegemony. This punch directly to the core by the JECA Group has left the beautiful country in agony. 1 month later, Hua Country, the famous auto blogger Zhang Xiaohu stands in front of a car. The car in front of him is more than 5.3 meters long, and its height surpasses that of a standing person. The headlights, interwoven in black and white like an orca, look bright and imposing. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Xiaohu gestures to the assistant filming the live broadcast next to him. The live stream starts, and he greets the camera. "Hello everyone, this is Xiaohu reviewing cars. As you can see, right in front of me is the latest BYD Ocean Orca Series SUV produced by BYD Company. This is a large SUV, and I have the top version, priced at $799,900. It is equipped with the latest biological battery. Yes, the very high-energy biological battery produced by the JECA Group. It's said that once fully charged, the range can reach 3,000 kilometers. This is the first new energy vehicle in the world equipped with a biological battery. I got my hands on one immediately to test it for you all to see the effectiveness of the biological battery. Watching the live stream, Zhang Xiaohu felt a bit proud, as he already released a preview the day before, so a large audience eagerly flooded in when the stream started. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xiaohu felt a bit triumphant inside. To get this freshly released BYD Orca SUV, he paid a huge price, but it was all worth it. Seeing the skyrocketing numbers in the live room, his efforts weren't in vain. Awesome. Brother Hu, hurry up and test drive it. Let's see if this biological battery is as incredible as JECA Group claims. Is there really such an amazing battery in the world as a super high-energy biological battery? To the skeptics, all I can say is you don't understand technology. Nor do you understand the JECA Group. Think about the spider mecha and the biological armor. Aren't these products impressive? Moreover, all the global technology giants and labs announced half a month ago that the data on the biological battery has been recognized. It's impossible for the whole world to fake it with the JECA Group. With current battery energy density 4 to 5 times higher, if this is true, the electronic products and new energy vehicles we use in the future will achieve a qualitative leap. Just look at the test drive performance. If the range is really that high, the entire world's car market is going to experience a revolution. Damn JECA Group, my heavily invested oil company stocks plummeted by 35%. Damn biological battery. Damn JECA Group. Barrage comments refreshed quickly, and viewer numbers have already surpassed 500,000 and are rising rapidly. Zhang Xiaohu couldn't hide his smile, opening the car door while speaking. Don't worry, everyone. I'll be testing the performance of this biological battery with all of you today. I've arranged for 3 assistants, and the Orca SUV is fully charged. We'll keep driving until the battery is completely drained, just to see how much it can really cover. Sitting in the car, starting it up, watching the mileage display, it showed only 50 kilometers. Recording it into the live stream footage, Zhang Xiaohu drove the Orca SUV onto the road. First, he wandered through the complicated city roads, simulating everyday driving habits. After running for half an hour, he leisurely headed for the highway. By this time, the Orca SUV had driven 40 kilometers, but the battery indicator still showed 99% remaining. It only dropped 1%, if it's not exaggerated, then the range is really remarkable. Zhang Xiaohu exclaims in surprise, then gets onto the highway, stomping on the accelerator. The unique powerful acceleration of electric cars quickly pushes the speed above 100 kilometers per hour. Acceleration is smooth and slick. It seems like BYD company has done a good job tuning this Orca SUV, worthy of the high price of $799,900. The car races on the highway, its heavy weight making it exceptionally stable during high-speed driving, with no sense of swaying. Zhang Xiaohu turns on the air conditioning and music, as these also consume more power. However, for a comprehensive test, authenticity is his main focus. This goes on for several hours, and midway, they got off the highway and wandered around the city, found a restaurant for a meal, then took a short rest, switching drivers to continue driving the Orca SUV. So this is how it went, with 3 people taking turns driving, staying in the car except for eating, drinking, and restroom breaks. They even slept in the car. The live stream audience came and went, but at least 100,000 people stayed, while at its peak, the number exceeded 1 million. After one whole day and night, the 3 of them set off from Beijing, bumping around all the way, reaching the southern Huadu. Only 1% of the battery is left. The odometer shows we've driven 2,980 kilometers. Unquestionably, this Orca SUV really has a range of over 3,000 kilometers as BYD advertised, without exaggerating the mileage. Now, please join me in witnessing how far it can ultimately go. Personally driving the car, Zhang Xiaohu's face showed no sign of fatigue, but was instead extremely excited. As the Orca SUV was nearing the end of its battery, and the test was coming to a close, his live stream audience reached 5 million, with his followers expanding by tens of millions, receiving so many gifts that his hands were sore. The Orca SUV got off the highway, and when the battery indicator reached 0%, the car kept moving as electric vehicles typically have some reserve power. Continuing for another 50 kilometers, The car slowly reduced speed and finally lost all power on a square, coming to a complete stop. 3,068 kilometers? A full 3,068 kilometers. That's the actual range of the Orca SUV after a full charge. True to its promise of over 3,000 kilometers range, and we pretty much had the air conditioning and music on the whole way. Otherwise, the mileage would have been even higher. All I want to say is, biological battery is awesome, JECA Group is awesome. Zhang Xiaohu shouted with excitement on his face, and the live comments were boiling over. Woo-woo. Stop it. Stop it. I'll buy. Isn't that good enough? This battery is so damn awesome. I was originally torn between buying a fuel car or an electric car. Now there's no hesitation. Just straight up go for the electric car. Who dares to complain about the battery anxiety in new energy vehicles now? A range of 3,000 kilometers, I ask again, who else? Which fuel car dares to challenge this? Drooling with envy. My S6 suddenly doesn't appeal as much. It's just money. Hurry up and stock the Orca SUV. The 4S shops here don't even have in stock, and my wallet is already hungry and thirsty. And what about other car companies? Quickly follow suit and buy more biological batteries. Scary range beyond fuel vehicles. The fate of fuel vehicles is doomed, destined to be swept into the dustbin of history. I really want it, but alas, my wallet won't allow the $799,900 price. That's the top configuration price, boasting the highest energy density of 1200 Wh/kg biological battery. And with new technology, prices are inevitably high. Once the technology matures and production increases, the battery price will definitely become cheaper. At worst, future mid to low-end new energy vehicles will use low-configuration biological batteries. Even the lowest level at 500 Wh/kg is twice the current battery capacity, allowing for a range of 1,000 kilometers, enough to meet most usage scenarios. The price will definitely be more budget-friendly. The live stream was also boiling, with countless comments refreshing madly. This terrifying range made every viewer who witnessed it firsthand restless with excitement. The most criticized issue of new energy vehicles, the range problem, was resolved thanks to the biological battery. It's a hit, a total hit. When the live stream ended and the news spread, edited clips from various major self-media quickly disseminated the content to the internet, causing a major online sensation. The order volume for BYD's Orca series SUV also skyrocketed instantly. Even the high price couldn't stop the enthusiastic consumers, with the orders lined up for more than a year. This also sparked envy and jealousy among other car manufacturers, prompting them to accelerate the launch of their own new energy vehicles equipped with biological batteries, to catch the money wave quickly. They also increased their procurement of biological batteries from JECA Group. Procurement orders like snowflakes flooded JECA Group. Several large battery factories rotated shifts 24 hours a day. As soon as the biological batteries were produced, they were loaded onto waiting trucks outside and shipped all over the world. Various car manufacturers launched their biological battery new energy vehicles at the fastest speed to seize the market, and sales were exceptionally insane, almost to the point of not being able to meet demand. Conversely, traditional fuel car manufacturers felt like the sky was falling, as their fuel car sales plummeted further. Models that used to sell 10,000 units a month could now consider themselves lucky to sell 1,000. Although they were not entirely unsellable, everyone knew the steep decline signaled the twilight of fuel cars, and the future belongs to new energy vehicles. Thus, they tearfully sold or adapted their fuel car production lines and jumped on the bandwagon of producing new energy vehicles to join the new energy vehicle money-making race. Hua country is the largest market for new energy vehicles, and this new energy vehicle revolution quickly spread outward. In Japan, known for its hybrid cars, they stood no chance against new energy vehicles equipped with biological batteries. Even the lowest configuration biological battery used in new energy vehicles could raise the range to 1,000 kilometers, erasing the advantages of hybrid cars, let alone the higher configuration biological battery, which stood no chance against it. In those old established car companies in Europe and America that focused on fuel cars, their sales also began to plummet, as everyone knew the new era of automobiles had arrived. The elimination of fuel cars was too obvious a trend, and everyone wanted to embrace the new future, the new technology. Beautiful country. Within a dealership of Ford cars, several brand new Ford pickup trucks were displayed in the store, attracting many onlookers. Wardfa, a range of 2,500 kilometers, your Ford hasn't gone crazy, right? Sure, it's not a mistake. Sicker Philip was a typical redneck, and at first sight of those impressive pickup trucks, he was captivated. Besides the touching price, the startling range number made him wonder if he was seeing things. Sir, you're not mistaken. The range of this new model indeed reaches 2,500 kilometers because it carries our latest biological battery. Ford's car salesman confidently replied. In the beautiful country, pickups were very popular, loved by the beautiful country people. Biological battery sounds familiar. Isn't it the one from JECA Group? But isn't it banned here? Sicker Philip's eyes lit up immediately. He had heard of the biological battery but regretted not being able to use such new energy vehicles, as even though oil prices were relatively cheap in the beautiful country, they were much higher than electricity bills, and not everyone in the beautiful country was rich, as the majority were ordinary people. Yes, this biological battery has an energy density of 1,000 Wh/kg. Combined with our latest Ford technology, it boasts excellent off-road and range capabilities. It can. Amidst the car salesperson's incessant introduction, in the end, Philip couldn't resist and, somewhat muddled, purchased the pickup truck equipped with a biological battery and drove it home. Philip's home is in Texas. He is a farmer with vast fields of potatoes and corn and also raises cattle and sheep. Since the farm is in a sparsely populated area with difficult roads, a sturdy and durable pickup that can carry heavy loads is most suitable for such road conditions. In the following week, Philip drove his new energy pickup truck early and late every day. Originally, he thought this new energy pickup truck would be fragile. To his surprise, the pickup performed excellently on mountain roads, sandy terrain, and mud, with very strong power. This is based on Ford's rich experience and achievements in the pickup truck model. In the field of pickups, Ford is synonymous with pickups, a legendary overlord. Equipped with the biological battery and Ford's excellent tuning for the pickup model, this new energy pickup truck demonstrates powerful stability and durability in extreme environments. What excited Philip the most was that the pickup's range did not diminish at all. In the past, he had to refuel almost every few days, but after switching to the new energy pickup, he only needed to charge it once a month, greatly saving his expenses. In addition to his happiness, Philip also shared his beloved new energy pickup online, gaining a lot of attention, and he enthusiastically recommended it to his other farmer friends. Damn, Philip, since when did you learn to boast? A range of 2,500 kilometers. Have you gone mad, or have I? I swear on my wife and kids. This new energy pickup is just that amazing. Their battery is incredible. It's from the JECA Group's biological battery. What? A product from JECA Group? That's right, the Tianyuan hair growth liquid you're using is also from JECA Group. Okay, if it's the company that saved my hair, I'm willing to believe them. I'll buy one tomorrow. Through ongoing endorsements, Philip's neighbors who needed to replace their vehicles also switched to new energy pickups. And after switching, each of them couldn't let go of it. For farmers like them, due to the sparse population and long distances from towns, they often need to travel long distances to purchase fertilizers, seeds, feed, etc. After several long trips, the fuel cost alone was considerable, but switching to a new energy pickup meant the cost savings were significant, and these redneck farmers instantly fell in love with this cost-saving and practical pickup truck. Similar scenes occurred across the beautiful country, and Ford's new energy pickup quickly became famous, receiving a large number of orders. Sales volume soared, and it successfully topped the monthly sales chart in the beautiful country, several times that of the second-place model. In cities and the countryside throughout the beautiful country, Ford's new energy pickup was speeding through the roads and was especially popular among African Americans, who praised it highly. During $0 purchases, African Americans would throw the items they grabbed from supermarkets and malls into the back of the new energy pickup, then step on the gas pedal and speed off. Even when pursued by beautiful country police, it's often difficult to intercept, as its powerful power and the unique acceleration of an electric vehicle mean that with a single acceleration, the police cars in the beautiful country are left eating dust, leaving the officers looking at each other in astonishment. As a result, this new energy pickup became a legendary vehicle in the eyes of many people in the beautiful country, becoming a beautiful sight, leading to more orders. Ford's factories in Hua Country and Southeast Asia worked overtime to produce but still could not meet the high demand from the beautiful country. The beautiful country government naturally noticed Ford's behind-the-scenes dealings and immediately sent someone to investigate Ford's cooperation with JECA Group. But what kind of company is Ford? A genuine century-old enterprise with connections all over the beautiful country. With a simple retort of what biological battery, we didn't purchase any biological batteries, we just imported the cars, and it was the subsidiary of our branch that purchased biological batteries. What does it have to do with Ford? They left the investigators fuming. Seeing that Ford was playing dirty, other car companies in the beautiful country couldn't possibly watch Ford monopolize the biological battery new energy vehicle market. So these long-established companies followed suit, joining in. Even if they would be charged the high JECA tax, they were undeterred. They would send the cars without batteries to neighboring Mexico, where they would install the biological batteries, and then bring them back to sell within the beautiful country, effectively exporting and then importing. Car companies are a formidable force, and through their points of contact and lobbying, the beautiful country government can only turn a blind eye. This wave of automotive innovation continues to sweep through. At the JECA Group headquarters in Monday City, almost every day, car companies from all over the world come and go, such as Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Ferrari, Ford, Tesla, Toyota, and BYD, all viewing each other as competitors, scheming for more biological battery orders, each showing off their skills. Not only in the automotive field, but other areas have also experienced changes brought by biological batteries. For example, in the mobile phone field, phones with biological batteries can be used continuously for 2 or 3 days without charging. In today's world, mobile phones are the most indispensable electronic devices in people's lives. You can skip a meal, but not a day without using your phone, which is a common scenario for many modern people. Many modern people have battery anxiety. If their phone's battery is low while out, it causes significant anxiety, and they'll go to great lengths to find a place to charge. And with phones using biological batteries, the battery capacity compared to previous phones is 4 to 5 times greater. So the appeal to consumers is self-explanatory. Just like with new energy vehicles equipped with biological batteries, they sell out quickly. However, because of JECA Group's limited biological battery production, more of the produced biological batteries are still for car batteries, and the production of biological batteries for electronic products is relatively low, as energy innovation in the automotive field can better impact the beautiful country's financial hegemony. In any case, due to the emergence of biological batteries, there has been a revolutionary change in the automotive sector. The sales of new energy vehicles have, for the first time, surpassed those of fuel vehicles, and over time, the gap between sales continues to widen. Naturally, global oil consumption has begun to decline, causing oil prices to plummet, and the beautiful country has started to panic. Black Palace, the beautiful country's Minister of Energy, Moe Mikel, stood like a quail, dejectedly in front of President Jesman. Beside him were the Minister of Defense, Salim Hamon, and the CAI Director, Judith. This was a relatively private meeting, and Mikel, as one of Jesman's confidants, was here to attend this high-level secret meeting of the beautiful country. Your Excellency, President, I'm sorry. I couldn't stop the proliferation of the JECA Group's biological batteries. Their advantages are just too overwhelming. Mikel said weakly. He had tried his best, but technological innovation, like when cars replaced carriages or phones replaced letters, could not be stopped even by the beautiful country, the Blue Star Dominator. The trend of phasing out fuel vehicles was like a tsunami, and he, as the beautiful country's Minister of Energy, felt powerless, only able to watch as biological batteries entered one car after another and into thousands of households. Jesman frowned, tapping the table, and said heavily, "What about the results of the imitation efforts? Is there hope to gain the technology of this biological battery?" Even if the energy density is somewhat lower, it would be acceptable. Biological batteries brought a lot of pressure to him, the president of the beautiful country. Internally, major oil companies were discontent, and externally, there were complaints and grievances from multiple oil-producing countries. He knew the possibility wasn't high, but he couldn't help but wish, even if it meant imitating a slightly weaker biological battery, they could make up for the losses in oil, as long as the JECA Group didn't monopolize the market. Can't be imitated. According to reports from the experimental personnel, many materials for this biological battery cannot be found, making imitation impossible. Mikel said without hesitation. They had combined efforts from several national laboratories to imitate the biological battery, but the answers were consistently that it was entirely unable to be imitated, as they had no ideas about the technological direction of this biological battery. The hateful thing was that the JECA Group didn't register any patents. Otherwise, one might at least glean some technological ideas from the patents regarding these biological batteries. Upon hearing this response, Jesmin's visible disappointment was apparent. "Judith, what's the situation over there in the Middle East?" Jesmin shifted focus, directing his gaze towards Judith. "The situation is extremely poor. Because of the sharp decline in international crude oil prices, those countries are now facing significant conflicts." Judith hesitated. One of the hegemonies of the beautiful country was the oil dollar. Through various means, the beautiful country controlled the Middle East, this global oil treasure trove, linking it to the US dollar, reaping abundant profits annually. However, the advent of biological batteries struck too large a blow to oil. Though oil production isn't solely for vehicle fuel and remains a crucial chemical raw material, automobiles are still the largest market for oil consumption, which is undeniable. Now, the burgeoning sales of new energy vehicles equipped with biological batteries are apparent, with everyone recognizing that the future belongs to these vehicles. Consequently, the value of oil is poised to plummet significantly, shaking the very foundation of the beautiful country's oil dollar base, destabilizing the national core to a grave degree. The countries in the Middle East attributed the decline in crude oil prices to us, and internal conflicts are externalizing, thus pointing the target at UTI country. According to the intelligence we have, several Middle Eastern countries are increasingly dissatisfied with the UTI country, with an escalating trend of war. Judith's face was solemn. Those Middle Eastern countries had grown wealthy relying on oil, and with the emergence of biological batteries, the crude oil prices fell, resulting in significant losses for them. The Middle Eastern countries were too far from the JECA Group to do anything about it, and they wouldn't dare provoke them, thus blaming the beautiful country. Each year, they spent vast amounts of dollars purchasing arms and paying protection fees to the beautiful country, which, in turn, offered no clear stance on the biological battery situation, leaving them highly dissatisfied and causing them to target the beautiful country's agent, the UTI country. Since they were bullied and received no response, they decided to stop paying protection fees and targeted the UTI country. Everyone knew the UTI country was the agent the beautiful country intentionally placed in the Middle East to exert pressure on and manipulate the Arab countries, forcing them to rely on the beautiful country. They might not be able to strike the JECA Group, but they could still attack the UTI country. It just so happened that they had a blood feud with the UTI country. The Arabs had no fondness for the UTI country, especially with the plummeting oil prices, leading to massive layoffs from oil-related enterprises domestically, salary reductions, and a declining quality of life for the public, resulting in public discontent and severe internal conflicts, which could be redirected outwardly through war. Jesmin's keen intuition as president allowed him to decipher the truth from Judith's words, and he let out a cold snort. Those Middle Eastern countries, what stray cats and dogs, they dare to jump up and bark, unable to recognize their status. The UTI country must not be conquered. That is our bottom line. The three present had anticipated this, and Jesmin's response was expected. The UTI country was vitally important to the beautiful country. Aside from geopolitical factors, the existence of the UTI country was tantamount to a blade ensuring the beautiful country's hegemony in the Middle East. It effectively fragmented the Arab nations, preventing political unification within the Arab world, thus maintaining control over the beautiful country's oil dollar hegemony. Additionally, the influence of the Yutai people was deeply rooted in the beautiful country. Many Yutai individuals were renowned owners of financial companies, with the illustrious Wall Street being half occupied by Yutai forces, wielding significant influence across political, cultural, and economic spheres within the beautiful country to a degree sufficient to influence its foreign policy. We're all smart people here. The influence of Yutai in the beautiful country is too great. The capital they control forces the beautiful country government to consider and respect their ideas. Even the politicians present have financial backers from Yutai offering political contributions. It's the Jekka group again. Can't they settle down for a while? They're always causing trouble. Your Excellency, President, we can't let this go on. Minister of Defense Harman slapped the table, his face full of anger. Harman is not a war proponent, but even he can't hold back now. This shows the huge impact of biological batteries on the beautiful country, that even Harman, who advocates peace, wants to get involved. Jesman was silent for a few seconds before speaking. Has the military found a way to deal with the cruiser arsenal ships? The current Jekka Group is the overlord of Southeast Asia. Under the influence of the Jekka Group, all Southeast Asian countries have formed the South Alliance, with Su Jie self-proclaiming as the supreme leader. Though the beautiful country has never acknowledged the Jekka Group and Su Jie, they have to recognize the strength of the Jekka Group, which even the beautiful country fears to some extent. When the Jekka Group annexed those Southeast Asian countries, the beautiful country considered intervening several times but backed down each time due to the abundant martial force of the Jekka Group. Among them, the Devourer-class cruiser is the most formidable presence to the beautiful country. This cruiser arsenal ship can dive into deep sea, carrying hundreds of missiles, posing a huge threat to carrier battle groups. Upon hearing Jesman's inquiry, Harman felt a bit awkward but mustered his courage and said, "According to our simulations, if we can deploy 3 carrier battle groups along with other countries' naval fleets, in the seamount battle our odds of winning can reach 70%. Only 70%. Jesman didn't look pleased. A 70% chance isn't secure enough. Anything can happen in naval warfare, and carrier battle groups are the cornerstone of the beautiful country's hegemonic power. Any issues would have massive implications. Even if they win, if it's a Pyrrhic victory, the beautiful country's hegemony would be shaken, more severely than the oil hegemony. The beautiful country relies on strong military power to intimidate the world and command other nations. Once its weakness is revealed, it can't easily act as the global police. It's like a gangster leader. When you're powerful, your underlings naturally obey. When you decline, they become disloyal, and rather than just being disobedient, those with ambition might think of overthrowing the leader to take their place. Between countries, there's never friendship, only interests. Moreover, the overbearing and arrogant actions of the beautiful country don't earn it any goodwill from others. People only obey due to the martial dominance on Blue Star. Including South Korea and Japan as followers, if the beautiful country declines, they can attack their master. Your Excellency, President, the emergence of biological batteries, and their reluctance to share even a bit of profit, have stirred discontent against the Jekka Group, not just from us but other countries too. We can create more alliances. Even if they aren't our allies, they won't interfere with our military actions, including Bear Country, as they're also a major oil exporter suffering from the impact of biological batteries. Harman's eyes flashed with resolve. Oil dollar hegemony is too important for the beautiful country. If they don't make an impact, the future of this hegemony is surely doomed. In contrast, bringing the Jekka Group to heel and extracting the benefits of biological batteries best aligns with the beautiful country's plans. Japan and South Korea will follow our orders. The Great British Empire is wreaking havoc in the oil market, with overseas oil field losses. Germany owns many old-school fuel car enterprises, and their market is squeezed by biological battery innovations. Canada is affected too. These countries are hopeful to become our allies. We must exert worldwide pressure on Jekka Group and show them our determination, even if it leads to war. Harman's tone grew more impassioned. Those unaware might think he was a hawk. General Harman, you're too aggressive. Judith is actually a hawk, but he advocates restricting the Jekka Group from all fronts. Harman's bloodthirsty approach to war, risking carrier battle groups, even makes Judith, a hawk, find the conservative Harman too aggressive. HMPF, it's you guys being overly conservative. Consistently compromising with the Jekka group makes them even more arrogant. Swallowing anger never results in anything good. Harman glared at Judith, his whiskers trembling with indignation. The Jekka group isn't like those small countries we've dealt with before. They're the overlord of Southeast Asia with strong military power. Wars aren't child's play. Harman scoffed upon seeing Judith's lack of support. Unhappy, he said, "You guys let things get out of hand. If we'd suppressed the Jekka group with all our might when they first started rising, they'd have been handled already. They wouldn't be the uncontrollable power they are now. Ultimately, it's your intelligence work that failed, not seeing the toxic growth of this threat in Southeast Asia." Judith, as the CIA director, has his temper too. He replied sarcastically, "Ridiculous. Did your military do its job then? Don't think I don't know. We initially supported Johor, Temasek, Jawa, and Luzon with massive military aid to boost local military strength against Jekka group. Yet, the massive aid funds vanished into thin air. A coffee cup procurement cost of $1,280. Enough!" Jesmond coldly interrupted the argument, stopping Judith from continuing, as even he, the president, found such matters too taboo, and Judith couldn't bear them. A slightly overexcited Judith came to his senses, feeling his back slightly soaked with cold sweat, realizing how close he'd been to trouble. Though he's a confidant of Jesmond, his offensive approach covered too wide an area. Judging against the giant military-industrial complex, investigating the beautiful country army's corruption, he might end up committing suicide with multiple bullet wounds tomorrow. Harman, with a grim look, glared fiercely at Judith, throwing the room into silence. Regarding what Harman mentioned, I agree in principle. Try discussing cooperation with other countries for joint operations, start military mobilization against the Jekka group, deploy troops, and prepare the war plan. Jesmond continued speaking, looking at Harman. "Your Excellency, President, I suggest deploying the Reagan Carrier Strike Group, Eisenhower Carrier Battle Group, and Roosevelt Carrier Battle Group, a total of 3 carrier battle groups to ensure our sea combat power, additionally mobilizing Japan and South Korea's naval forces, and..." Harman rejuvenated, speaking boldly and fluently. After Harman finished speaking, Jesmond tapped the table, sternly saying, "Remember, without my orders, the military must restrain itself. Any potential conflict must be reported to me. For now, it's mainly about showing strength and exerting military pressure to make Jekka group back down. If problems can be resolved through negotiation, then they must be resolved through negotiation. Absolutely no rash firing. Understand?" Harman nodded repeatedly, solemnly saying, "Please rest assured, Mr. President, our military's orders are as solid as a mountain, and we will absolutely not fire the first shot." Jesmond felt slightly relieved. He didn't want war to erupt with the Jekka group during his term. Winning would be fine, but losing... Jesmond shivered at the thought, not daring to imagine. Inside a luxurious villa, Moe Mikkel, who had just left the Black Palace, returned to his grand house and dialed a number. Beep, beep, beep. The phone rang a few times before it was answered by a magnetic voice. "Mikkel, calling so late. Is there an urgent matter?" "Mr. Isaga, indeed something very important happened tonight, and you will certainly find it interesting." Moe Mikkel recounted the events at the Black Palace that night, which indeed sparked the intense interest of the person on the other end. "Oh, so the beautiful country government is just sitting idly by? That's really disappointing. What are they afraid of? They have not a trace of the Blue Star Dominator's demeanor." The tone on the phone was slightly mocking. Clearly the decision of the Black Palace was not to his liking. Mikkel shrugged and said, "The Jekka group is indeed not easy to provoke, and it makes sense for them to be cautious in matters of national warfare." Cautious, but they can't just disregard our survival. The voice on the phone became increasingly dissatisfied. After a few complaints, the call was hurriedly ended. "Mikkel, thank you this time. Our Thai group will remember your favor." Just a few minutes after the call ended, Michael's other phone vibrated with a text message, which was a notification of a deposit. It was for a bank card he secretly held, and a staggering amount had been transferred into it, which couldn't help but make Mikkel beam with a smile. At the same time, in New York on Wall Street, in a tall building, a man in his 50s, wearing pajamas and holding a glass of red wine, stood by a floor-to-ceiling window, watching the hustle and bustle below, the neon street lights, his face full of gloom. He used to enjoy standing here admiring the view, which gave him a sense of stepping on the entire city. If any Wall Street elite appeared here, they would surely recognize this man. He was none other than the representative of the Yutai Group on Wall Street, overseeing several financial companies and hedge funds, known by titles like Stock God, Financial Tycoon, and King of Hedging Butler Isaga, personally worth $1 trillion. His various financial companies controlled immense portfolios, with internal funds reaching $1 billion scale. It's no exaggeration to say, his slightest move could shake Wall Street thrice over. Simultaneously, Butler Isaga was also the chairman of the Beautiful Country and Yutai Country Public Affairs Committee, a trustee of the Beautiful Country Yutai Organization Affairs Conference, and held various titles such as Honorary Citizen of Yutai Country, wielding resources beyond just the finance sector. He had dedicated organizational structures and lobbying groups, actively lobbying the Beautiful Country to safeguard Yutai Country's interests. As an important figure of the Beautiful Country Yutai faction, Butler Isaga was now in an extremely poor mood to the extreme. Because, before the emergence of biological batteries, Butler Isaga was a major shareholder in several long-established automobile companies in Europe and America, plus his financial companies had heavily invested in many oil stocks and futures. Since Yutai Country had spies scattered across the Middle East region, it had some control over oil intelligence. Combined with his influence in Yutai Country and the Beautiful Country, he often gained access to crucial information, could manipulate the market, and reap substantial profits. Yet, unexpectedly, the JECA Group didn't play by common rules and actually developed a biological battery, causing the stock market of the Beautiful Country to trigger circuit breaker 3 times in one day. The oil stocks and futures heavily invested by his financial companies plummeted, collapsing drastically. Although he used his influence to block the news and conduct hedging operations, the time was too short to sell off everything, resulting in significant losses. The traditional automobile companies in Europe and America he invested in plummeted in value as well, dragging down the value of his shares, leading to huge investment losses. Can be said, due to the emergence of biological batteries, his wealth was reduced by at least half. JECA Group, you are playing with fire. Isaga downed his glass of red wine. His eyes filled with indifference. If it were just a matter of wealth reduction, he could accept it. After all, his wealth was substantial, and no matter the losses, he was still a great tycoon. But what he couldn't tolerate was JECA Group's targeting of oil. Isaga was a true patriot of Yutai Country. His feelings for Yutai Country ran much deeper than for the Beautiful Country. He always advocated for safeguarding the rights of Yutai Country and its expansionism. Yutai Country is today in the Middle East precisely because of oil interests that it receives substantial support from the Beautiful Country. Once the value of oil declines, the importance of Yutai Country will also severely dwindle. By then, even if their Yutai faction in the Beautiful Country is immense, the Beautiful Country might not be as diligent in assisting them with arms and various supports as it is now. Without the support of the Beautiful Country, it is likely that the countries of the Middle East would gang up against Yutai Country, with consequences that even Yutai Country might not withstand. The Yutai people have wandered for 2,000 years, living a life of displacement, plagued by multiple massacres and looting. They finally managed in the last century, with the support of the Beautiful Country, to find a place to settle and establish their own state, Yutai Country, a source of pride for most Yutai people. Even those Yutai people in the Beautiful Country, who already hold significant power and authority, still uphold the existence of Yutai Country in their hearts, for it is their root. Many Yutai people fear that if Yutai Country were to be destroyed, they would once again lose their foundation, becoming a wandering nation. If a country becomes displeased, oppresses, or even raises a butcher's knife against them, despite their enormous wealth, they would once again become money bags under others' blades. For instance, Isaac is a staunch nationalist of Yutai Country. He can't stand seeing Yutai country being bullied. Come here. Lighting a cigar, Isaac called over his closest secretary. Contact Yutai country, gather our Yutai organization members, and suppress the Jekka group a bit. Their arrogance has been too rampant lately. Boss, about the Jekka group. The secretary's face showed some odd expression. He understands the fierce reputation of the Jekka group. Isaac paused for a moment but remained firm. Yes, the Jekka group, but don't start from Yutai countryside. Talk with the people in Yutai circles, find a white glove. I recall we have many shares on South Korea's Lee family side. Let them take action and separate us. After all, Isaac was a bit scared, planning to find a proxy to vent his anger while setting an example for other Yutai people, boosting their morale. First, test the Jekka group's reaction. If the reaction is minor, he will actively rally global elites of Yutai descent to suppress the group. They, Yutai descendants, don't only have intricate power in the beautiful country. Their influence is exceptionally strong in many countries, united enough to make many countries tremble. The secretary breathed a sigh of relief, nodded, and quickly left to make arrangements. Isaac exhaled smoke, gazed at the bustling nightlife outside the window, and said lightly, Jekka group, not everyone can easily break the rules of this world. Biological battery emerges. 3 aircraft carrier battle groups of beautiful country depart, deploying toward the Southeast Asia Sea area, targeting the Jekka group. President Jeh Siming is actively heading to various EU countries for high-level meetings. Currently, military forces from 12 countries have clearly expressed their stance, intending to join beautiful country in holding a maritime joint military exercise near the Southeast Asia Sea area. He's anxious, oil dollar hegemony is shaking. Beautiful country is desperate to pressure South Alliance. Will the confrontation of these 2 major military groups become the trigger for a world war? South Korea's Gwangju, the 5th largest city of South Korea, has about 1.5 million residents. At this moment, inside a warehouse on the outskirts of Gwangju, Jin Changming, with legs crossed, was flipping through a newspaper and pushed his companion next to him, saying, Rat, take a look at these news items. Do you think they will fight? Called Rat was a man with sharp features and a monkey-like appearance. His head full of dreadlocks, neck and arms tattooed, looking like nothing good. Of course, Jin Changming wasn't much better himself, wearing a loosely fitted shirt, buttons undone, hair slicked back, left arm with floral tattoos, wearing a big gold chain, cigarette dangling from his lips, practically screaming, I am a bad guy. Nearby the warehouse were about a dozen people, each dressed similarly, either tattooed or had their hair permed. They belonged to the vibrant societal group Luo Nan sect in Gwangju, commonly known as a gang, one of the largest gangs locally, numbering over 500 members. Rat glanced at the newspaper impatiently. Whether they fight or not is none of my damn business. Since when did you love watching news? Discussing military politics? What's up? You thinking of going to graduate school? Asaba, what nonsense are you spouting? I'm worried if the Jekka group and beautiful country go to war, our supply line will be cut off. Where would we enjoy such a comfortable life then? Jin Changming cursed with a smile, pointing to the goods inside the warehouse. Inside were stacked many boxes, containing bottles of Tianyuan hair growth liquid, Tianyuan myopia pills, Tianyuan whitening liquid, Tianyuan slimming pill. These were the treasure troves of their Luo Nan sect. In the past, their main business range was usury, debt collection, running casinos, bars, and nightclubs. But after accessing smuggling channels from Jekka Group, the profits were too enormous. Their previous illegal businesses fell far short. Since South Korea is a little brother to the beautiful country, it also enforces an embargo on Jekka Group. Take Tianyuan whitening liquid as an example. They sourced from Jekka Group the basic Ningxi Tianyuan whitening liquid priced at 2,999 per bottle, but upon crossing over to South Korea, the price immediately soared to $5,000, and demand still vastly exceeded supply. South Korean women particularly love beauty. The cosmetic industry ranks first globally. With such a magical product enhancing appearance, South Korean women went crazy. Government prohibiting sales gave gangs a chance to smuggle and profit. Luonan sect, being the largest gang in Guangzhou, wouldn't let such lucrative deals pass by, naturally operating the smuggling business of Jekka Group in Guangzhou, effectively serving as the group's exclusive agent, raking in fortunes. In the past, Jin Changming's monthly income was only 2 to 3 million Korean won. Now via smuggling Jekka Group's goods, it reaches 10 million Korean won monthly. You'll study national affairs yourself. I await the day you become the great commander, Rat said grumpily, flipping over to continue dozing. No aspiration. Even us in the underworld should think about improving ourselves. Never mind, cannot reason with someone like you. No wonder you just graduated from elementary school. Jin Changming raised a middle finger proudly, for he dropped out of high school, already considered highly educated among the talent-rich Luonan sect. While speaking, Jin Changming pulled up his pants as he walked out, finding a place to relieve himself. Stab. Suddenly, just as Jin Changming was off guard, a violent screech of brakes was heard from outside the suburban warehouse. A dozen cars stopped outside the warehouse, followed by men, dressed in various outfits, wielding steel pipes and axes, rushing out fiercely. You guys, do you know this is our Luonan sect's territory? Ah! The Luonan sect member guarding the door hadn't finished speaking before being knocked down by a steel pipe. The opponent had no intention of negotiating and attacked anyone they saw without a word. Damn it! You scum. Hurry up and grab weapons. Inform the boss. Someone has come to our warehouse to cause trouble. The scene immediately became chaotic, with the sound of bones breaking from steel pipes and screams echoing constantly. The gang members of unknown origin were numerous, outnumbering the Luonan sect members guarding the warehouse by several times, quickly knocking down the Luonan sect members. Those trying to escape were also blocked, caught, and beaten. Jin Changming shivered in fear, wetting his pants, but couldn't be bothered with that, as he hid in the concealed bushes, sneakily peeking outside. He saw his friend, Rat, lying on the ground with a bleeding head, screaming like a slaughtered pig, his right arm hanging unnaturally, clearly broken. Where did these bastards come from? Daring to provoke our Luonan sect? You're dead. Jin Changming cursed wildly in his heart. Their Luonan sect was the largest gang in Guangzhou, always smooth sailing. But today they were flipped by another gang, which made Jin Changming furious. However, just as Jin Changming was cursing, he suddenly realized something was wrong. Because normally in such a turf war, the loot taken would be kept for themselves. But those out-of-town gang members, after entering the warehouse, not only didn't take away the expensive smuggled goods from the Jekka Group, but instead poured gasoline and set the warehouse on fire, destroying boxes of expensive goods. Woo! Woo! At this point, the sound of police sirens rings at the scene, making Jin Changming puzzled. Why did the police come so quickly this time? He saw those out-of-town gang members each get into vans, almost just a step ahead. As they were leaving the scene, the police had arrived to clean up the mess. Jin Changming also saw an acquaintance. The Guangzhou police station chief was there, and this guy was a big figure often seen on TV. Never expected to see him here, as normally such a high rank wouldn't be concerned about gang fights. Jin Changming dared not think deeply. He retreated stealthily and quickly fled the scene before the police noticed. Then called the boss but found the phone couldn't connect. Fortunately, Jin Changming knew the boss's location, and after spending over half an hour, he arrived near the boss's residence, only to find the area already cordoned off by police, surrounded by onlookers. Forensic experts in white coats came in and out, carrying stretcher after stretcher covered in white cloth. Jin Changming grew increasingly uneasy because he saw on one of the stretchers, recognizing the shoes sticking out, that they were a pair the boss loved to wear. The boss, just who could strike so ruthlessly, wiped them out completely. The situation is obvious. The boss's family was also assassinated, died a violent death. Jin Changming was terrified. Though the Luonan sect founded by the boss couldn't see the light of day, it held a place in Guangzhou, but today was massacred, and its assets overturned. Jin Changming grew increasingly uneasy, so he opened his phone to check local news. Sure enough, he saw that all Luonan sect's territories in Guangzhou had incidents. Nightclubs and casinos were shut, with reports of injuries everywhere. The news also said local police had eradicated the long-standing large-scale gang in Guangzhou, arresting hundreds of members. What added to his fear was seeing his own wanted notice on the news. Suddenly, Jin Changming's hands and feet turned cold. No, it's completely wrong. What's going on here? Jin Changming's mind, which barely finished high school, was almost blown. He couldn't fathom the key issue. The only thing he knew was that the enemy targeted against Luonin's sect probably had far greater influence than imagined. No way, I must leave here. Can't let them catch me at all costs. Jin Changming was very scared, but didn't know where was safest, suddenly thinking of a place abruptly. That place must be safe. They are the boss's partners. I will lay low first. Jin Changming remembered a place he had visited with the boss before. It was a smuggling hideout of the Jekka Group, and he recognized people from the Jekka Group because one of his childhood friends was an outer member there, doing miscellaneous tasks for the Jekka Group. Yes, I'll go there. Jin Changming didn't dare to delay, so after plotting the route he started escaping again. What Jin Changming didn't know was that similar events were happening not only in Guangzhou. Today in South Korea, multiple conflicts broke out. Many gangs responsible for smuggling and disposing of Tianyuan series goods were either wiped out or fell into police hands. For a time, the whole of South Korea was like a tense storm, with both gray market and black market forces growing cautious. Even ordinary people were affected. Due to the severe shortage of Tianyuan goods, prices skyrocketed, leading many South Koreans to rant online about the government's incompetence, questioning why they bother cracking down on Tianyuan goods. That's right, for many South Koreans, their government was seen as utterly useless, imposing restrictions on importing Jekka Group's products, yet unable to wholly block them, fostering rampant smuggling, skyrocketing prices. Ultimately the consumers, suffered, having to pay more for their purchases. For many in South Korea, Jekka Group's products had become indispensable necessities. But none of this mattered to Jin Changming anymore. For now, he just wanted to escape safely. Su Jie, do you think the beautiful country is serious this time? Or is it just trying to apply pressure? It's strange, and I wonder what benefits the beautiful country promised those nations. For them to wag their tails and follow behind it. Inside the Jekka Group headquarters building, Su Jie sat at his desk, and beside him Lu Yingying asked curiously. In her hand were the reports from the Jekka Group's intelligence department and the military. The beautiful country's 3 aircraft carrier combat groups were grandly heading to the Southeast Asia Sea area, making a formidable show. Along with the beautiful country's 3 aircraft carrier combat groups were many of its allies. There were NATO's Great British Empire, France, Germany, Canada, Italy, bullfighting country, Turkey, Portugal, Mudun country. Also joining were members of the Gulf Cooperation Council like Saudi Arabia, Oman, United Arab Emirates, and non-NATO member countries like Japan, South Korea, Bachi country, Gen country, Australia, Pyramid country. These countries all participated in the beautiful country's joint naval exercise, codenamed Blade of Freedom, with as many as 45 participating countries. The exercise focused on naval forces, with each nation sending varying levels of naval units. Most countries were just putting on a show to save face for the beautiful country, dispatching only 1 or 2 outdated and worn-out escort ships, while some countries sent their main fleet. Like the Great British Empire, they even brought out their Elizabeth-class aircraft carrier, bringing the total number of warships to an astonishing 315. It's worth noting that when the beautiful country waged the Gulf War, only 39 countries participated, with a total of 200 warships. But for one exercise, the beautiful country put on such a display that no one believed it was simply an exercise. Hearing this, Su Jie moved his gaze away from the computer and chuckled lightly. It's not hard to guess the issue. It's because the biological battery threatens their interests, and they want us to concede profits. If you look closely, you'll see most of these countries are oil-exporting nations. For example, Bachi country, with an oil and gas recoverable reserve accounting for 15.3% of the South American region, and Gen country, the nation with the most oil and gas fields in South America, with over 1,000 fields. Su Jie, with a deep gaze, continued. As for whether the beautiful country is bluffing or genuinely ready to fight, that depends on how determined their president is. A bluff might turn into a war, or war could turn into a bluff. I think the beautiful country is probably too afraid to fight. Lu Yingying voiced her thoughts. With the Jekka Group's wings now firmly established and considering the beautiful country's past behavior of backing down, Lu Yingying felt they were mostly relying on military strength to pressure and intimidate the Jekka Group into conceding interests. Not necessarily. After all, if the oil dollar hegemony is gone, it's like cutting off an arm of the beautiful country, which might drive them to act desperately. Regardless, the military must be ready. The military has already arranged the appropriate deployments. As they spoke, Lu Yingying's phone suddenly rang. A moment later, Lu Yingying ended the call, her expression slightly displeased. There's trouble in South Korea. The branch over there reported that many of our distributors in South Korea have been severely hit, with significant disruption to sales chains and considerable losses. As she spoke, Lu Yingying opened her tablet and accessed the intelligence report sent by her subordinates. South Korea has a population of tens of millions, but its consumer market is significant, and its economy is quite developed, so problems there warrant attention. Su Jie took a look and raised an eyebrow. Oh, since when did South Korea get so bold? Attacking our industries like this? They must have gone mad. Although smuggling didn't contribute taxes to the South Korean government, the money the gangs made from smuggling was spent domestically, in a way stimulating the economy. Therefore, there was an unspoken rule of mutual understanding, where South Korea wouldn't overly scrutinize the smuggling of Jekka Group goods. Have you found any leads? Placing the intelligence on the table, Su Jie looked at Lu Yingying. Lu Yingying shook her head. We haven't uncovered any leads yet. The South Korean underworld is quite useless, leaving behind very few clues. That may be true. Su Jie stroked his chin. Despite South Korea's decent crime action movies, their local underworld was nowhere near as ruthless as those in Europe and America, nor as brutal as those in Mexico and Ba Chi country. If it were those countries, even if the government wanted to act against them, it would be uncertain who'd end up fighting whom, and naturally it wouldn't affect the Jekka Group's smuggling business. Overall, this South Korean action must be deliberately aimed at our Jekka Group. Wait, could the beautiful country be testing our reaction here? Suddenly realizing something, Lu Yingying connected the dots to the beautiful country. The other side's military forces were now gathering in the Southeast Asia Sea area, clearly looking for trouble. Coupled with South Korea being the beautiful country's loyal little brother, they had the motive and capability to carry out such moves. Su Jie's expression gradually cooled, and he said calmly, whether it is or not, we'll find out through investigation. If it's the beautiful country's doing, then there's a root to the evil debt. If it's the work of other forces, then let's remind them of the terror cast by the genetic warriors. The Jekka Group's mud truck commercial war hadn't been launched for a while. Perhaps some had already forgotten this memory. No way would any other forces dare to do this? Lu Yingying couldn't believe anyone would dare to be so audacious, challenging the feared reputation of the Jekka Group. Don't underestimate human nature. Some people are just that bold. Su Jie waved his hand and said to Lu Yingying, inform the Steel Camp, send them on a mission, and they must uncover the truth within a week. Understood. I'll notify them immediately. 2 days later, in South Korea, inside a repair shop, Jin Changming, hands covered in grease, was learning how to fix cars. This was one of Jekka Group's smuggling hubs in South Korea, providing intelligence on the prices and sales of smuggled goods. The local gangster distributors would first hand over money here, report the variety and quantity of smuggled goods they wished to purchase, and receive a voucher. Then they would go to Southeast Asia to get the smuggled goods. Having a brother working here, Jin Changming successfully sought refuge. Jin Changming. Suddenly, the boss of the repair shop, also the head of this smuggling hub, shouted his name. Coming. Just tell me what you need, boss. Jin Changming quickly crawled out from under a car, covered in dirt, and walked over. Then Jin Changming saw that the usually arrogant and imposing boss was bowing and scraping, respectfully accompanying a man. It was a rugged man exuding a dangerous aura, his body rigidly built, with thick and powerful eyebrows and dark eyes full of focus and ruthlessness. This is an investigator from the Jekka group. He's here to look into the recent extermination of the Luo Nan sect. The repair shop boss introduced, then saw the man extend his hand, speaking in not very fluent but understandable Korean. Situang. Samida, hello? Hello? My name is Jean Changming. Just call me Little Jean. Seeing the extended hand, Jean Changming quickly wiped his greasy hands on his clothes, but still somewhat embarrassedly extended them, as they were too dirty. Clap. The other party firmly grasped his hand, seemingly unfazed by it. Jean Changming felt the other person's grip was exceptionally hard, like steel, causing his heart to quicken inexplicably. Not the thrill of meeting a loved one, but pure nervousness. Situang's expression remained unchanged, his face still cold and stern. As the captain of the Steel Camp and a genetic warrior with countless lives on his hands, he sleeps on bodies, eats bread and sausages soaked in blood, and fights through gunfire and forests filled with poisonous insects and fierce beasts, long since honing a robust courage and ruthless character. He wouldn't even wrinkle his brow if covered in blood and entrails. Such things didn't matter to him. Follow me in the coming days, assist in the investigation, and act as a guide. All right, I understand. Boss, just let me know if you need anything. Jean Changming was very obedient, aware that anyone, even the repair shop boss, had to treat with respect must be someone he couldn't afford to provoke. A gangster needs to have some sense. Now, come with me. Wait a minute. I'll go change clothes and take a shower. This is too dirty. Hurry. A dozen minutes later, an off-road vehicle drove out of the repair shop. Situang was driving, Jean Changming sat in the passenger seat, and two unsmiling men were in the back. Boss Situang, where are we going now? For the investigation, we could check the warehouse for clues, or ask my friends. I have some buddies on the streets. They often have second-hand news. Maybe they know something. Jean Changming rambled on, thinking it was an opportunity to prove himself. If done well, he might be able to join the Jekka Group's peripheral forces in South Korea in the future. Why didn't you hide with your friends before? Situang asked while driving. Ahem. It's not very safe for me to go alone. Jean Changming chuckled awkwardly, as he had a police bounty on his head. As for his so-called friends, they were just fair-weather pals, the kind who, upon being questioned in jail, would reveal everything. So, after the incident, he didn't think of hiding with his friends, too easily betrayed. Situang nodded and continued, Understood, but what you said is too complicated. I heard you are quite familiar with the underworld of Guangzhou. Jean Changming puffed up his chest and boasted, Of course, I'm a local. I've been involved with several gangs here. I'm extremely familiar with the underworld, even knowing what kind of underwear their bosses prefer. Good. Then you must know where the headquarters of the second most powerful gang in Guangzhou is. Right? Of course I know. The second most powerful gang in Guangzhou is the Yute sect. Their boss is a big shot under police surveillance, while the others are just small-time thugs. But why are you asking about this? Jean Changming blinked, guessing that Situang might be seeking information from the underworld. He had witnessed the warehouse incident, and those who attacked it might very well be locals. This indeed seemed like a potential breakthrough, though he wasn't sure why the headquarters location was being asked. That's great. Lead the way to their headquarters and confront them directly. Situang provided the answer. He wanted to head straight to the Yute sect's headquarters. Me? Jean Changming was stunned, pointing at himself and then looking at the three of them with wide eyes, full of disbelief. Just the four of us marching into the Yute sect headquarters? No way, we'll be hacked to death. In fear, Jean Changming felt his voice tremble, his legs shaking, looking around as he considered escaping by opening the car door. Show the way. A voice came from behind, freezing Jean Changming's body, because something hard was pressed against his temple. A matte black handgun with a chilling feel, obviously lethal. Put down the gun. Don't scare him. Situang said nonchalantly, and the man in the back saluted before putting away the gun. The gun was put away, Yet Jin Changming's heart still pounded fiercely. He glanced at Situang and the others from the corner of his eyes, seeing their expressions unchanged, as if wielding a gun meant nothing. In South Korea, guns were strictly controlled. The law-breaking here with a gun was on a completely different level than using a knife or pipe. Even in gang fights, almost no one used guns, as that would provoke a severe police crackdown. I'll lead. I'll lead. Sweating profusely from fear, Jin Changming cursed the three as lunatics in his heart and dared not refuse their request anymore. After all, they had guns. With Jin Changming guiding, the off-road vehicle arrived at a nightclub in Guangzhou. Since it was daytime, the place had not started operating yet. There were guards at the nightclub entrance, for burly men in suits with large tattoos, looking intimidating. Boss Situang. This is the headquarters of the Yute sect. It houses over 100 elite fighters, and their leader stays here often. How about we head back and call for more backup? Jin Changming suggested with trembling lips, but Situang ignored him, parking directly in front of the nightclub, blocking the entrance. Hey, you punk, how can you park here? Are you blind or what? The four Yute sect members at the entrance pulled out batons, cursing as they approached, ready to smash the car window and drag someone out for a beating. However, the driver's window rolled down first, and a handgun extended out, pointing right at them. The pupils of the four Yute sect gang members constricted, their cursing abruptly halted. Before they could run or plead, for gunshots rang out. The four Yute sect members fell to the ground, each with a bloody hole in their foreheads, blood oozing out. In the passenger seat, Jin Changming was stunned, his eyes staring blankly, not expecting them to really dare to use guns and kill. This was serious crime. Situang pushed open the car door and stepped out, and the two in the back got out as well. Jin Changming, get out. Lead the way, identify people. Jin Changming was dragged out, terrified by the four corpses, his brain going blank. But there was no time to think as Situang and his group took him and marched directly into the nightclub. Did you guys hear any sounds just now? What sound? You just can't drink anymore and want to bail, right? Bastard, who says I can't drink anymore? All of you together can't outdrink me. Stop talking nonsense. Come on. Keep drinking. Inside the nightclub, a big group of tattooed, dyed hair, and bizarrely dressed Yute sect members were drinking and gambling in small groups, looking far from being decent people. The hall was filled with deafening music, and the environment was very noisy, so they had little reaction to the gunfire outside. Footsteps echoed from the entrance, and after a long corridor, Situang and three others walked into the hall. Asiba, who are you? We're not open yet. What are those mad dog idiots doing at their post? Someone spotted Situang, whose unfamiliar face made them think he was a customer looking for fun at the nightclub. Where's your boss? Situang's expression was calm. Indifferent to the smoky and chaotic environment, he asked directly. How are you talking? What boss? You mean chairman? Don't you understand? Do you have an appointment to see the chairman? A few members of the Yute sect approached, with the lead holding a cigarette in his mouth, tilting his head and assessing Situang, not quite understanding where Situang came from for the moment. Jin Changming's face turned pale, instinctively looking around, ready to find a place to escape if anything went wrong. Have your boss come out and see me. Situang reached into his waist with his right hand, speaking even more bluntly. Asiba, you bastard dog causing trouble, do you want to die? The Yute sect members became furious, with the thug holding the cigarette even slapping out at Situang. Bam! A crisp gunshot rang out. Situang had pulled out a gun from his waist and pulled the trigger. The bullet pierced through the mouth of the cursing Yute sect member, exiting with a spray of blood from the back of his head. The gunshot reverberated in the nightclub hall, overpowering the music, and the scene fell silent immediately. Every Yute sect member who was playing cards, gambling, or drinking turned their heads in horror. The body fell in front of Situang, the gun barrel moved, and he fired until the magazine was emptied. At such a close range, it would be natural for someone with Situang's skill not to miss, and soon several people were down. Until their deaths, they hadn't realized they would be shot dead by someone in their own base. It didn't match the usual style of the South Korean gangs. A gun, he has a gun. Someone's invaded. Hurry. Notify the boss. Asaba. Damn bastard. Grab something to kill them. Can't fight them. Go get help first. The hall turned into chaos. Yute sect members were either fleeing in panic or cursing as they rushed forward with bottles, steel pipes, and machetes. Situang's lips curled into a cold smile. Watching the brave guys, he calmly replaced the magazine and aimed the gun again. Some of those rushing towards him turned and ran at the sight of the gun's barrel, while others continued charging forward. The thug in the lead was nearly 2 meters tall, swinging a machete, shouting Korean profanity, and looked like a small leader, appearing especially fierce. However, this fierceness was worthless in the face of human-made killing weapons. Situang pulled the trigger, firing 2 quick shots into the body. The opponent screamed and fell. Then Situang added a headshot to permanently silence the screams. 2 shots to the body, 1 to the head. This Mozambique shooting technique was quite effective in close-quarters combat. Looking at the fallen body, Situang shook his head and chuckled softly. Beyond 7 steps the gun is fast. Within 7 steps it's both fast and accurate. Thinking one machete could get close. Huh? Situang had another line, unless you're a genetic warrior. At this moment, the 2 genetic warriors accompanying Situang also drew their pistols, shooting while advancing, mercilessly slaughtering the Yute sect members on sight. One Yute sect member turned to run, but how could his speed be faster than a bullet? The bullet hit him in the back, causing him to stagger and fall, followed by another bullet piercing his brain, ending his life. Some Yute sect members crawled under the counter and tables, trembling, yet they couldn't escape the slaughter. The genetic warriors passed by, leaving those hiding in a pool of blood. There were Yute sect members who knelt and begged for mercy, but the genetic warriors didn't even look, responding with a bullet to the skull. The genetic warriors were like cold-blooded killing machines, making no unnecessary movements other than killing. Bang! 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 Bullets pierced bodies, magazines emptied in rounds, and the hall echoed with constant screams. The horrific screams made Jin Changming's limbs go weak, looking at the blood flowing everywhere. The Yute sect members lying in pools of blood, goosebumps covered his arm, and he was terrified into a daze, just standing there dumbly watching Situang and his 2 accomplices massacre. How had he ever seen such a terrifying and bloody scene? Previously, even hundreds of people fighting in South Korean gangs mostly resulted in fractures and stitches, hardly causing any deaths. Those methods which Jin Changming already saw as cruel looked like child's play in front of these 3 gun-wielding killers. Situang and the 2 were clearly there to kill, every shot aimed at vital parts of the body, even adding a headshot to those who fell, to prevent any chances of a comeback, highlighting sheer brutality and horror. In the past, Jin Changming thought having more people in a gang fight was an advantage, but now, 3 gunmen had just crushed the so-called elite fighters of the Yute sect. The scene was filled with cries and screams of agony, and all the members of the Yute sect were either fleeing or becoming a corpse. In just 2 minutes, the hall fell into silence again. Dozens of bodies lay on the ground, blood flowing freely, and the air was heavy with the scent of blood. Don't stand there stunned. Keep up. Situang waved at Jin Changming, then lifted his leg and walked towards the 2nd floor of the nightclub. Jin Changming swallowed hard, looking at the extremely dangerous Situang and his men, no longer daring to entertain any thoughts of escape or resistance, because he was also afraid of getting a bullet. On the 2nd floor, the same bloody method was used. Gunshots echoed continuously. The genetic warrior went all the way up without deliberately killing, only killing those who without eyes blocked the path, intending to show loyalty to the Yute sect. For anyone in the way, the genetic warrior showed no mercy and had nothing extra to say, focusing solely on being ruthless and succinct. This nightclub had 5 floors, but under the massacre of the 3 killing gods, Situang and his men, the battle was completely one-sided. Members of the Yute sect wielding cold weapons were utterly insignificant in the face of handguns. Eventually, by interrogating captives, Situong and his men arrived at a large door on the 5th floor. Situong kicked the door open. Inside was a middle-aged man with a shotgun in his hands, ready to shoot. But how could he match the reflexes of a genetic warrior? Situong fired first, shattering his palm, causing him to cry out in pain and the shotgun to fall to the ground. He's the boss of the Yute sect, Li Shushuan. Jin Changming trembled as he followed Situong and his 3 men here, immediately recognizing the middle-aged man upon seeing him. Who hired you? How much did they pay? I'll pay double if you just spare my life. Li Shushuan clutched his injured palm, cold sweat pouring from the intense pain, but he could still barely maintain his composure. He mistook Situong and his men for professional hitmen hired by other Guangzhou underworld forces, as their methods didn't resemble the ways of the underworld, who would use guns so recklessly without fear of the police. I ask, you answer. Situong stepped on Li Shushuan's chest, saying calmly, Who instructed you to take out the Luonan sect? What? The Luonan sect has nothing to do with us. I don't understand. Bang! A bullet pierced through Li Shushuan's foot, making him arch his body like a shrimp, his features scrunched up in pain. Answer. So painful, Asiba. I really don't know. Bang! This time his hand was shot through. Answer. Bang! I'll tell you everything. It was Guangzhou police chief who made me do it. He paid a large sum, and it wasn't just our gang, there were others too. Under Situang's simple torture, Li Shushuan could no longer hold out, spilling everything like beans. Situong listened quietly, then lifted his foot from Li Shushuan's chest. Let's go. Situong waved his hand, heading towards the door. Li Shushuan secretly sighed in relief, thinking he had survived, only to see the last genetic warrior suddenly pull out a gun and shoot 3 times at his head, leaving his face unrecognizable, ensuring he was dead before turning and leaving. Asiba, Guangzhou police chief. How dare he do this? Our boss didn't fail to bribe and offer tribute to him. Hearing the gunshots behind, Jin Changming shivered slightly, couldn't help but curse and wore a troubled expression, looking at Situong as he spoke. Boss, she too. Should we check other underworld gangs? Maybe there are other clues there. No need. Just go directly to the Guangzhou chief. Situong chose the fastest way without even thinking. Jin Changming seemed to doubt his ears, looking at the 3 still expressionless killers, his voice raised sharply. But that's the Guangzhou police chief. No difference, you just lead the way. Take us to the Guangzhou police headquarters. Situong patted Jin Changming's shoulder, seemingly indifferent to the fact that the formidable Guangzhou police chief was completely insignificant in his eyes. Jin Changming's mind was in a mess. In his eyes, the Guangzhou chief was a towering figure, absolutely untouchable. But thinking about the slaughter just carried out by Situong and his men, Jin Changming somewhat understood the reason. Outside the nightclub, the sound of police sirens could already be heard. The screams and gunfire from the nightclub had been too intense, long alerting the people outside. In addition to some lucky Yute sect members who managed to escape, they called the police, and the nearest police had already arrived. Getting into the SUV, Situong watched the approaching police, flooring the gas pedal and speeding off towards the Guangzhou police headquarters under Jin Changming's direction. Front black SUV, stop immediately for inspection, or we will use force. Repeating. Several police cars followed behind, their sirens wailing, cutting through the scene like a brilliant line. Situong didn't care, speeding up with superior reflexes, maintaining a steady grip on the wheel, continuously widening the gap from the police cars. However, as the large-scale fatal shooting incident caused by Situong and his men was discovered, more and more police reinforcements poured in, encircling and pursuing them. The entire city seemed saturated with the sound of sirens. During such a chase, the Guangzhou police headquarters was getting closer and closer. Screech. With a piercing sound of tires rubbing against the ground, the off-road vehicle stopped in front of a building. The building had a large sign with the 4 big characters for police headquarters, towering at over a dozen floors, complete with a cafeteria, training grounds, detention room, interrogation room. This is it. Those police officers have caught up. What do we do? Perhaps we should just surrender. Jin Changming pointed at the police headquarters building, his voice trembling, because a large number of police officers were closing in from behind and officers from the police headquarters were also deploying. To Jin Changming, it seemed they were now caught in a position with no escape. This was not the Yute sect after all, and so many police officers were armed. It wasn't something that could be won with just a pistol. Just fight our way in. Situang's answer was very succinct. He got out of the car with Jin Changming, then walked to the back and opened the trunk. Suddenly, Jin Changming's pupils sharply contracted, his eyes widening at the incredible scene before him. The trunk was packed with various weapons, rifles, submachine guns, sniper rifles, rocket launchers, grenades, rows of golden bullets, a vast number of firearms stacked in the trunk, leaving Jin Changming utterly stunned. Click! Situang donned a tactical vest, picked up an AK rifle with a magazine belt, and tossed it toward the approaching genetic warrior. The genetic warrior caught it in one motion, loaded the magazine, chambered a round, aimed, and pulled the trigger, completing the process seamlessly. Bam! 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 Gunfire erupted, and the South Korean police officers rushing out from the police headquarters, closing in with guns drawn, were instantly taken down in a circle. The South Korean officers were only armed with pistols, far inferior in firepower, simply incomparable, especially facing precise shooting from a genetic warrior. Situang himself picked up a general-purpose machine gun, hooked up a bullet chain, set up the machine gun's bipod to secure the firing position, aiming at the incoming fleet of police cars. With Situang's cold pull of the trigger, bullets instantly fired, penetrating the oncoming fleet of police cars, piercing through fragile human bodies. Ordinary police cars could not withstand machine gun fire. Blood stained the vehicles, as out-of-control police cars crashed into roadside trees and shops, igniting plumes of thick smoke. The bullet chain of the general-purpose machine gun frantically shook, shells continuously ejecting, scattering by Situang's side, as the 2-foot-long muzzle flame spewed. A deadly rain of bullets raked over, suppressing and destroying the entire fleet of police cars. The opposing firepower simply wasn't on the same level. Deploying a machine gun against mostly pistol and baton-equipped South Korean police was like a dimensional reduction strike. The last of the genetic warriors hoisted a rocket launcher, half-crouched, aimed at a police anti-riot vehicle and pressed the trigger. With the rocket hitting the police anti-riot vehicle, a violent explosion erupted, flipping the vehicle on the spot. Then, he picked up grenades, pulled the safety pin, and tossed them into the crowd of officers. Boom! 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 The fragments from the grenade explosions knocked many officers down, with cries of pain all around. The pursuing fleet of police cars collapsed, turning around to flee, while those officers running out from the police headquarters were crying out and scattering in all directions. When had they ever encountered such ruthless criminals? This was no longer at the level of police catching thugs. Instead, it felt like being on a battlefield. Such a firepower configuration was far too advanced for them, the South Korean police, to handle. Jin Changming only felt a tingling scalp. He initially thought it was a move to throw themselves into a trap, but Situang and the others had brought so much heavy firepower, instantly reversing the roles of predator and prey. The ferocity was like nothing he had ever seen before. In the face of these three maniacs, the police officers who Jin Changming once feared were no match at all, falling like rookies. Go inside. After finishing a belt of ammunition, Situang put away his general machine gun, picked up 2 submachine guns, and led his men into the main office building. At this moment, the main office building was already in complete chaos. When Situang and his team entered, there was hardly any resistance left. Most of the South Korean police were hiding and trying to escape. There were still a few willing to fight to the death, but they were very few and far between. On a necessary passage leading to the upper floors, a policeman hid nervously behind the door, clutching a pistol, planning to ambush Situang and his men when they passed by. He had already heard the faint footsteps outside, his breathing becoming increasingly heavy, his body tense. However, just as his heartbeat accelerated, suddenly something was thrown in from outside and rolled onto the floor of the room. It was a round object, surface dotted with small bumps, engraved with shrapnel patterns. A hand grenade. Upon realizing it, the policeman's mind went blank immediately. Bang! The floor trembled as the explosion's smoke billowed from the doorway. Situong walked past expressionlessly, aiming his submachine gun in another direction. There, two policemen prepared to ambush had just revealed themselves and faced the hail of bullets from the submachine gun. With the submachine gun's high rate of fire, the magazine was emptied in seconds, and the two ambushing policemen were riddled, their bodies perforated with bloody holes, leaving the wall behind them splattered with blood, and they fell to the ground like soft sludge. Beside them, another genetic warrior holding a shotgun ran quickly, storming around a corner while simultaneously pulling the trigger as he passed. A policeman hiding there to ambush didn't even have time to react before seeing a flash of fire, and then lost all conscious awareness. Hit at close range by the shotgun, the policeman's upper body was blown apart, his head exploding like a watermelon, resulting in a gruesome death. In the corridor, the last genetic warrior moved forward slowly, bearing a heavy riot shield. "Die Bastat. Damn you maniacs, hurry up and die. Shoot them dead." Several South Korean policemen shouted angrily, firing their pistols wildly. Bullets created dents on the heavy riot shield, and fine cracks like melon tendrils appeared on the bulletproof glass. If they were using rifles, they could indeed penetrate, but the low-speed bullets fired by pistols lacked sufficient power. The genetic warrior held the shield, and when the policemen finished a clip and were frantically reloading, he set the shield in the aisle, then leaned out and fired an AK rifle forward. With only half a magazine, a few policemen fell, 7.62mm bullets piercing their bodies, and unlike being hit a few times by a handgun and possibly surviving with a rifle, there was almost no chance, especially since the genetic warrior was aiming at vital points. Situong and the three genetic warriors advanced unhindered, practically invincible. The policemen in the main office building were completely defeated. Facing the genetic warriors, their so-called desperation amounted to mere futile sacrifices. Moreover, those willing to fight to the death were an exceptional minority, maybe 1 in 10 people. These South Korean police usually dealt with various trivial issues, street fights mostly. They rarely needed to use guns, and their firearms training was mediocre at best. At this critical moment, confronted by heavily armed genetic warriors, they were terrified. Some policemen did resist, but they were clueless. They only knew some criminals had broken into the main office building but weren't clear on the attackers' capabilities. When they thought it was just knife-wielding criminals, it was too late to regret upon facing the ominous muzzles of the genetic warriors. They were swiftly dispatched by bullets. The actions of the genetic warriors were somewhat restrained. They weren't planning to reveal their true identities just yet. Otherwise, with full strength on display, the policemen in the building would have already been slaughtered. After simply clearing out the resisting force, 2 genetic warriors stayed to defend the main office building, resisting subsequent police reinforcements. Meanwhile, Situong took Jin Changming to find their mission objective. "Where's your chief?" In a room, Situong kicked the door open. Inside were a few trembling policemen, both male and female, who screamed upon seeing Situong. "Scream again, and I'll kill you." Situong's cold gaze swept over them. Facing the barrel of a gun, the policemen hurriedly covered their mouths, and a female officer sobbed quietly. "We are clerks. Please don't kill us." A female police officer pleaded tearfully, and a male officer mustered the courage to reply, knowing they weren't armed and didn't dare to resist. "Where is your chief? Let us there." Situong casually grabbed a male officer, compelling him to show the way. The male officer dared not to defy and led the way fearfully. The police headquarters had over a dozen floors, with the chief's office on the 8th level. When Situong went up, he didn't find anyone in the chief's office. "Sir, the target is hiding in a restroom on the 12th floor." Situong's radio, clipped to his chest, transmitted the voice of another genetic warrior who had taken over the main office's surveillance room, locating the Guangzhou chief's whereabouts. Situong, along with Jin Changming, made their way to the women's restroom on the 12th floor. Bang! 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 One by one, the closed restroom doors were kicked open by Situong. In the last stall, a rotund, pot-bellied policeman was hiding. He was precisely the target Situong was searching for. Boss Shi too. He is Guangzhou Police Chief Park Dong-hyun. Jin Changming hurriedly identified the man, even as he was still somewhat incredulous at seeing Park Dong-hyun with his own eyes. To have forcefully broken into the main headquarters, fought his way up, and captured the Guangzhou police chief alive was beyond his wildest dreams. Situong dragged the man by the collar, pulling Park Dong-hyun, the Guangzhou police chief, out of the stall. "Asaba, you stupid kid. What do you want? I am the Guangzhou police chief. If you touch me, you're finished." Park Dong-hyun struggled continuously, his face filled with fear and panic. His mind raced, trying to remember when he had provoked such a powerful individual who would storm the police headquarters to get to him. But no matter how he racked his brain, he couldn't figure out where things went wrong. Such a crazed desperado, he would never dare provoke. Park Dong-hyun, right? Who gave you the order to target and attack the Luonan sect, to destroy the goods in the Luonan sect's warehouse? Situong squatted down, pulling out a knife strapped to his calf. The bright, cold blade reflected Situang's indifferent, icy eyes, chilling Park Dong-hyun to his core. Are you with the Jekka group?" Park Dong-hyun seemed to comprehend something, guessing Situang's background. His eyes filled with terror. He finally understood who he offended, and his fat body began to tremble. Swish! The knife in Situang's hand sliced through Park Dong-hyun's palm, severing 2 fingers. "I'm the one asking questions. Answer them." Park Dong-hyun let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered, having no willpower at all, not even as much as the crime boss of the Yute sect. Before Situong could continue, he cried out, "It's the Lee family. The Lee family ordered me to do it. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't want to provoke your Jekka group." "Lee family? Which Lee family?" Situong frowned, raising the knife again. Jin Changming behind him heard "Lee family," and his expression changed slightly, blurting out, "Lee family? Is it the Samsung Group's Lee family?" Yes, it's that Lee family, the Lee family. They called that day, telling me to take care of the Jekka Group's smuggling channels, sending a large amount of funds. How could a mere police chief like me refuse the Lee family's affair?" Park Dong-hyun nodded repeatedly, confessing everything. "It really is that Lee family." The conjecture in his heart became a reality. Jin Changming gasped, his face full of shock. This name holds unparalleled intimidation for every South Korean. Beside him, Situong had already extinguished Park Dong-hyun's life with a knife, even if the other was frantically begging for mercy. Willing to offer all his assets, Situong didn't hesitate for half a second. "Samsung Lee family. I've heard of this name, the one making phones and screens." Situong wiped the blood off his knife on Park Dong-hyun's clothing, put it back on his calf, and stood up. "It's not just that. They are involved in all sectors of South Korea. They're the largest and strongest conglomerate in our country." Jin Changming was extremely shocked. Being South Korean himself, it's impossible not to know the South Korea Samsung Group and the Lee family who controls this commercial behemoth. In South Korea, Samsung Group's revenue equates to 20% of South Korea's GDP. Their operations span consumer electronics like smartphones and TVs, components like chips and lithium-ion batteries, apparel, hotels, resorts, construction, life insurance, advertising, shipbuilding, aviation, and weapons technology. Globally speaking, a commercial giant like the South Korea Samsung Group is extremely rare. Their economy virtually holds South Korea hostage, which is why it's often humorously referred to by outsiders as the Samsung Republic. If you had to summarize the ubiquitous influence of the Samsung Group on South Korean society in one sentence, it would be, South Koreans can't escape 3 things in life: death, taxes, and Samsung. From this, you can see how strong the Samsung conglomerate and the Lee family controlling it are in South Korea. They truly achieved a symbiotic relationship with the state, famously described as flowing presidents, steadfast Samsung. As long as the South Korean political system doesn't change, Samsung Group naturally has its environment for survival, and the Lee family can remain as behind-the-scenes manipulators, controlling South Korea's economy and politics to plunder the country's wealth. Situong, not being South Korean, was indifferent to it and continued on his way out. Boss Shi too. Maybe we should stop here, after all it's the Lee family. Jin Changming had never been so scared. The Samsung Lee family, a mountain every South Korean is born unable to avoid, filled him with trepidation. What's with the Lee family? You have a good impression of them? Situong turned to glance at him. No, but still, that's the Lee family. They're not like ordinary companies. They're the biggest conglomerate in our country, with influence in every aspect, like your JECA group. Jin Changming shook his head repeatedly. Naturally, he had no good impression of the Lee family. Most South Koreans don't either, but out of necessity they have to scramble to join Samsung Group. Samsung is certainly no match for us. Situong suddenly turned and stared at Jin Changming, his eyes cold as blades, startling Jin Changming. Yes, Samsung Group can't compare. Fearing Situong might shoot him, Jin Changming nodded vigorously. Situong snorted coldly, saying, "Before the JECA Group came, our local people lived in hardship. After the JECA Group arrived, our lives became colorful, getting better each day. Can Samsung Group compare? They really can't." Jin Changming pondered. Indeed, in this regard, they can't compare. Because of Samsung Group's existence, they hold South Korea's economy hostage, controlling the income of South Korean people. You'd think South Korea is a developed country, but by their diet alone, you see, treating kimchi as a treasure, while Hua country's small dishes serve as their national banquet. Samsung Group suppresses people's incomes. As long as it's insufficient for survival, people spend their lives struggling just to make ends meet. Meanwhile, Samsung Group sits on a massive fortune, forcing people to be subjugated, contributing their labor. They've maintained this balance for centuries, using wealth to control people, keeping them serving a lifetime. This logic many South Koreans might not understand, but entering Samsung Group is their only choice, since other companies' treatments don't match Samsung. Numerous innovative enterprises full of potential have been crushed into bankruptcy by Samsung, eliminating competition, preventing them from growing strong, thus making Samsung's status in South Korea irreplaceable. Moreover, you were also wrong about something else. JECA Group is not just a company. Situong tapped Jin Changming's shoulder, gazing out at the arriving reinforcements, the piercing sirens, displaying a smirk. So Samsung Group is a powerful conglomerate? Yes? Let's show them what a warlord is. Our JECA Group is excellent at commercial warfare, especially against conglomerates. Jin Changming's brain felt electrified, jolting him as this remark pinpointed the core issue. Just a beautiful country's minion. Is this how you understand our JECA Group? Situang's eyes showed some disdain, as even beautiful country fears them somewhat, let alone any Samsung Group. Jin Changming comparing Samsung to JECA made it feel like the most grievous insult to JECA Group. Jin Changming's eyes cleared. He remembered South Korean history's military dictators, the well-known Reign of Terror, famously dubbed as "My Name is Do Hwan," beating citizens into wailing. During those times, conglomerates didn't dare even to stir slightly, submissively like sheep, fearing reckoning 6 times with the military police's stick. With this thought, Jin Changming quickly stood at attention, shouting to Situong, "Boss Shi too. I most admire the JECA Group. Loyalty to President Su. Loyalty. Loyalty. Loyalty." Jin Changming shouted thrice, full of respect, afraid Situong might hold a grudge. Situang's lips curled into a smile, nodding, saying, "All right, let's go, we need to leave." Yes. Descending the stairs, they got into the car with 2 other genetic warriors, speeding out of the headquarters, and through superb driving skills and several car swaps, entered a crowded mall, shaking off the pursuing police, completing their escape. South Korea. Seoul. This is South Korea's largest city. As a representative of high urbanization, the Seoul Circle gathers most of South Korea's population, making it exceptionally prosperous here. Seoul Gyeongnan District, Samsung Group Headquarters Building. As South Korea's most powerful chaebol, whose business covers multiple fields like electronics, finance, chemical, heavy industry, this headquarters building is naturally built very magnificently and grandly. It's a landmark building of Seoul, South Korea. Today's Samsung Group headquarters building was very lively, because today marks the 90th anniversary of the founding of Samsung Group. For this, Samsung Group held a grand celebration. Early in the morning, Samsung Group and the surrounding streets were decorated with clusters of flowers, and luxury cars filled the nearby parking spots. Not only were there many Samsung Group employees attending the event, but also a large number of media came for filming, as well as high-ranking officials and business tycoons who were invited. Most of the big figures with influence in South Korea's political and business circles gave face to Samsung Group, with more than half of South Korea's top political and business leaders all present. It was truly a gathering of heroes. At this time, around the Samsung headquarters building, large amounts of police force were already deployed, with over 1,000 officers patrolling and standing guard to maintain order, ensuring the celebration proceeded orderly and safely. In such a grand occasion, the Lee family, which controls Samsung Group, naturally would not be absent. There was Lee Ji-ho, the head of Samsung Financial Insurance, managing important industries such as Samsung Life Insurance, Samsung Securities, Samsung Investment Trust Management, Samsung Venture Capital, etc. Many South Koreans who buy insurance and securities can't avoid Samsung Group. There was Lee Min-shua, responsible for managing Samsung Heavy Industries, Samsung Oil and Chemical, and Samsung Factory. These companies engage in shipbuilding, petrochemical, manufacturing electronic component equipment, and military aircraft parts, among other things. There was also Lee Shu-gwang, managing important assets like Samsung Trading, Samsung First Woolen, and Samsung Shorer Hospital, among which Samsung Trading alone ranks 495th in the list of the world's top 500 companies. The number of Lee family members in attendance exceeded 100. Besides holding these important roles, there were also many holding mid to high-level management positions, and the younger generation of Samsung coming out to build connections. When the time approached noon, the most important person also attended, arriving at the Samsung Group headquarters building. It was a middle-aged man with glasses, looking gentle and refined. Everyone in South Korea would recognize his face because he was Chairman Lee, managing the most important assets of Samsung Group, including Samsung Electronics, Samsung Semiconductor, Samsung SDI, and others. The patriarch of the Lee family, Lee Rongzai, a well-known figure in South Korea and even the whole world. Stepping out of a luxurious stretched Rolls-Royce, Lee Rongzai was wearing a tailored suit crafted by a master, with a gentle and elegant smile on his face, waving to the crowd of media rushing forward, allowing the photographers ample time to take pictures in front of the flashing lights. His side was accompanied by a large number of bodyguards forming a human wall, preventing reporters from colliding, firmly protecting Lee Rongzai in a safe position. After leaving the reporters' area, many politicians and businessmen gathered around to greet Lee Rongzai. Chairman Lee, wishing your Lee family prosperous business, each year better than the last. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Please come in and have a seat. Xian Xiang, come over and keep Mr. Zhang company. Long time no see. Chairman Lee, I have a collaboration here. When you have the time, perhaps we can find a time to discuss it. Sure. I'll have my secretary look over my schedule and get back to you. Haha, Chairman Lee. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Chief Zhang, what are you saying? I'm delighted by your presence. As it happens, I have something to discuss with you. On the day of Samsung Group celebration, we plan to gift 100 police cars to the Seoul Police as a sign of our support. Without your diligent work, maintaining an excellent business environment, Samsung Group wouldn't be where it is today. Lee Rongzai responded very appropriately. Although he was the head of South Korea's largest chaebol, he presented himself very humbly, leaving no room for criticism. In reality, the truly unknown dark side of the chaebols would not be exposed to the public. After all, even the media mouthpiece was under their control. If they want to make the society blind and deaf, it's just a word away. A group of people entered the Samsung headquarters building and took their seats in front of the celebration stage. Thank you all for supporting our Samsung Group. Through 90 years of ups and downs, Samsung Group has grown into a successful multinational corporation. This year's group operating profit increased by 3.51% compared to last year, achieving a series of brilliant accomplishments. Of course, Samsung Group will not become arrogant and complacent. Our journey is still long. In the future, Samsung Group will continue with technological innovation, improve employee welfare, and provide support for the prosperity and stability of South Korea. Lee Rong-zae delivered a passionate speech on stage, recounting the history and future prospects of Samsung Group. After a rousing speech, Lee Rong-zae stepped down from the stage, followed by a distinctly South Korean feature, as groups of captivating female members took the stage to perform, dancing with a hot allure, capturing the attention of many men in the audience. It must be said, you may criticize South Korea's chaebols for being malevolent, but you cannot question their aesthetic vision. Chairman Lee, this performance is quite powerful, isn't it? An elderly man in his 60s, dressed in a police uniform, came over and casually mentioned something while toasting Lee Rong-zae. He was Han Shang-xuan, the Seoul police chief, the head of all the police in the city with a population of tens of millions, and he always had a good relationship with the Samsung Group. Chief Han, you have a good eye. I've heard you have quite a study in dance arts. Tonight, I'll have 2 members from the girl group come to learn from you, so they can broaden their horizons with your expertise. Lee Rong-zae clinked glasses with him, wearing an elegant smile. Dancing is good. One must learn to dance. Someone of my age needs to dance often to exercise and keep fit. I must learn from them properly. Receiving the response, Han Shang-xuan's old face immediately beamed like a chrysanthemum. Lee Rong-zae continued to drink and chat with others, enjoying himself amidst a lively atmosphere. While Lee Rong-zae was busy socializing with high-ranking officials and politicians around him, outside the Samsung headquarters building, the sound of heavy engines echoed. 3 heavy-duty semi-trailers lined up, roaring fiercely down the road like enraged beasts, speeding towards the Samsung headquarters building. Asaba, stop right now in front. This is a closed section with traffic control. Hurry and detour. The police who were stationed and patrolling at the perimeter immediately noticed the commotion, shouting at the 3 heavy-duty semi-trailers, ordering them to stop. But instead of showing any sign of slowing down, the 3 dump trucks stepped harder on the gas, tires burning against the ground and completely ignoring the police's orders, crashing straight through the checkpoint the police had set up, moving forward relentlessly. Sybil, damn bastards. These 3 guys are definitely drunk. I'm sure. The police gaped for a moment, then quickly reacted and communicated through their walkie-talkies. Report, there's an incident at the east perimeter. 3 semi-trailers have crashed into the celebration site, requesting immediate lockdown and interception. The license plates are... While notifying their colleagues, these police officers jumped on police motorcycles to pursue the semi-trailers. The celebration site had a lot of police presence, so they reacted quickly. Many police cars drove forward to block the path of the semi-trailers to prevent them from disturbing this major celebration of the Samsung Group. Otherwise, they would all be in trouble. However, their actions did not work, as the 3 dump trucks pressed the accelerators to the end, roaring ahead like bulls. A certain police car, oblivious to the danger and trying to use a pit maneuver with its siren blaring, was hit head-on by the leading dump truck with its throttle welded to full. The scene was utterly horrific when struck by a heavy mud truck traveling at full speed. The thin body of the police car twisted and caved in, airbags deployed, the officers inside had bloodshot eyes, internal organs displaced, and their bodies were crushed by the torn and twisted metal, resembling ragdolls ripped apart, destined for death along with the wrecked car. After rolling out dozens of meters, the police car was beyond recognition, with no movement inside, and only a trickle of blood dripped from its scrap-like structure. Seeing this, the intercepting officers were left agape. Shoot! Shoot to kill these thugs. The death of a police officer instantly ignited the fury of these officers, leading to an increasing number of police cars blocking the road ahead, setting up barricades filled with flashing police lights. Some officers stood around the barricades, holding guns aimed at the dump trucks, pulling the trigger. The bullets couldn't threaten the dump trucks but could endanger the driver's safety if they hit the driving seats. However, despite numerous bullets having been shot into the driver's seats, the dump trucks did not slow down in the slightest and charged straight into the police car barricade. A large number of officers shrieked and dodged, yet those less quick were thrown flying by the dump trucks or dragged under the wheels and crushed. Subsequently, the dump trucks crashed into the police cars blocking their path, with overpowering horsepower and weight pushing through the police vehicle lines. One police car after another was rammed and flipped over, while smoke and blood began to permeate the air. By the time the 3 dump trucks charged through, the road section under lockdown was left in utter disarray, littered with overturned police cars and mangled bodies trapped under wheels. Wherever the dump trucks passed, long trails of blood marked their path. Chase them down, apprehend those 3 drivers, call for more backup, and immediately notify the internal area. Let them be alert. The site security chief was furious, feeling that the deaths of so many officers implied a ruinous career ahead. The only chance to redeem some credit was to hastily capture the dump truck drivers. Woo-woo, woo-woo, woo-woo. The sound of police sirens echoed, audible even at the Samsung building. Li Rongzai, who was socializing with the Seoul police chief, frowned as he also heard the increasingly loud sirens. Chairman, 3 dump trucks have gone out of control and rammed into the celebration site. The police are pursuing and handling it. The secretary, after receiving a call, explained to Li Rongzai. Facing Li Rongzai, Han Shangxuan, the Seoul police chief, also received a report from his subordinates. He appeared quite embarrassed, clearly disgraced by the poor performance of his underlings. How could there be such a security lapse? Quickly, no matter the method, you have only 5 minutes to resolve this issue and apprehend those threatening social safety. Han Shangxuan, full of anger, scolded over the phone before hanging up and turning to Li Rongzai, holding a glass. Chairman Li, I apologize sincerely for the oversight that disrupted your celebration. Rest assured, our police have been fully mobilized and will soon apprehend those dump truck drivers and bring them to justice. Li Rongzai clinked his glass with Han Shangxuan, maintaining a calm demeanor and lightly chuckling. Chief Han, don't be upset. Such incidental events are unavoidable for anyone. I trust the police will quickly resolve the criminals and restore ongoing security. As they spoke, they moved to the window to look below. Many others also did the same as police sirens wailed outside, drawing many VIPs from the celebration to see what had transpired. From a high vantage point, they could see in the distance the 3 semi-trailers rushing towards the Samsung headquarters building. The truck cabs had been deformed from violent collisions. Some were smoking, others had blown tires, and parts kept falling off as they tried to maintain speed, though gradually slowing down until they stopped at the plaza in front of the Samsung headquarters. Behind them, a mass of police officers arrived in a tumult, surrounding the 3 trucks with patrol cars. Prisoners inside, turn off your engines immediately and exit with your hands up, or we will open fire. Numerous police officers held guns and batons, many with faces filled with anger due to the significant casualties their colleagues suffered from these 3 trucks. They were eager to arrest these drivers and take them back to the station for a real Korean-style massage. 6 batons a second. Just as the officers thought this and began approaching the trucks, preparing to make arrests, the foremost truck showed signs of movement, with its slightly deformed door being forcefully kicked open, flying tens of meters and slamming against an officer, leaving him a bloody mess. Before the eyes of numerous stunned South Korean police officers, the figure that stepped out was not the presumed inebriated and reckless driver, but a humanoid entity entirely clad in silvery white armor. Bang! Situang stepped down from the dump truck, wearing the second-generation biological armor and stepping onto the cement ground. His cold eyes glanced at the stupefied South Korean police officers before sensing something, looking upwards, meeting the gaze of Li Rongzai at the Samsung headquarters building. A cold smile curved at the corner of Situang's lips. He had found his target in South Korea. Li Rongzai trembled all over, his hand slipped, and the wine glass he was holding dropped, the red wine splattering on his pants worth tens of thousands of US dollars. Yet he was oblivious, his expression dazed, murmuring, "Gene, genetic warrior, it's the Jekka group."